It's the third and final week of our little captive audience experiment, and as luck would have it, I get to wrap up the series. Some of my harsher critics would say I designed it this way all along, in an egotistical effort to put myself as a headliner, a closer, a main event. As usual, those critics are wrong, and not just because I'm always right, but rather because anyone who thinks I'm a know-it-all who only likes to hear my own voice, or that I'm a mic-hogging sycophant who thinks I'm above the show's greater good, it's clear you don't actually know one thing about me. Come to think of it, there are times when even the three of us, for all the time we spend together, even under quarantine, don't always seem to understand one another, which is why we're going to spend our final single-minded episode expanding on things we covered during the previous two. We discuss regrets. Tonight we'll attempt to fix them. We discuss self-awareness. Tonight we'll attempt to learn just a little bit more. We discussed a new reality. Tonight we'll try and analyze the past, rewrite the present, and maybe, just maybe, set a course for a better future. You don't have to worry, we're still us. We're not likely to get too serious, and we're not going to try and be emotional when we have the collective depth of an Asian fleshlight. Of course, most of you already know this and are ready for what's to come. But if you're new here and you don't know who we are, then maybe your best course would be to tread lightly. Tonight, I'm in control. I'm running the show. For this episode, I am the danger. I am the one who knocks. If you haven't guessed by those subtle hints, this week on Needless to Say, we're breaking bread. And I'm joined by Dave and Craig, meth-fueled and ready to ride. So, Maestro, stay out of my territory and hit my goddamn music.
I thought it was like fucking plunging a toilet. Like that's what I thought was happening.
Good news is there's no rectal tearing, Mom.
Takes place in one room lined with plastic like Dexter.
Well, welcome back to Needless to Say. That was Brad. I am Fat Flannel Guy, and with me is Neck Guy, and we're getting back into our show. So,
and apparently away from a thesaurus.
Well, yeah. Hey, no one cares about the supporting cast, my friend. It's all about the star. So why don't we start with you, Brad? This is your week to control the show. How was it?
The week was good. I told you last week I'm not getting my bus station toilet paper, but I did get something by a brand called Seventh Generation. And I used to think that was kind of like a symbolic name or something. No, I think this has been recycled and bleached 7 times. I can swear it comes out of the package and it's wavy, like it's been washed.
Oh,
like it got wet and dried.
Of that. As you get to the center of the roll, it's fucking quilted, and it's not supposed to be.
Oh, Jesus. Well, I got 48 rolls to get adjusted to this, but I know when we finally get down to it that this shit is going to tear me the fuck apart. I almost wish I had just waited a little bit longer for those giant rolls of bus station shit.
It's the only toilet paper that comes pre-streaked.
Yeah, they tell you where to wipe.
Wipe between these lines.
Yeah.
These wavy, smudged lines.
Your toilet paper shouldn't look like a road test.
Yeah. They tell you to wear gloves because it's actually just an old roll rolled inside out.
The 2-ply's been flipped around.
Yeah, they just flip them around. Like you're gonna use.
I was a little concerned when the Amazon delivery guy came with tongs.
Yeah.
They just drove by and kicked it out the back of the truck.
Yeah.
Other than that, I mean, I guess, everybody in my house is shitting themselves a little bit. When we moved into this house, we had been told that, every now and then the house gets mice. And I figure, we're by the water, you're going to get mice.
Well, not only you're by the water, but you're kind of, I don't say you're out in the woods, but you're in a lot more rural area than other places. So it makes sense. Like, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's going to happen. And also, they did a lot of clearing out catty corner to me, behind me.
Yep.
They cleared out a whole lot. So I imagine
I'm
a
so
lot
mad
of mice.
that you said catty corner.
It's good. I'll wait for you to spell it, and we'll just meet you back here next week.
It's kitty corner.
Why would it be?
All stupid. So shut the fuck up. This is my week.
Why would it be
All
kitty
right, that's
corner?
right. I don't know.
Yeah, we're not discussing this. Sorry.
Oh.
But as it turns out, we got mice, and now we've always heard a few in the ceiling. You hear them on the drop ceiling, and they just, and you don't think much of it. You just say they'll come, they'll go, whatever. No, it turns out they don't leave. Once they find a house they like, they stay, and then they fuck so much that they have babies every 21 days.
Oh my God!
So
Come
I
on.
laid poison. Now we've gotten a few in traps here and there, and I didn't think we had an infestation, but I put poison in, and one of the downsides to using rat and mouse poison is that it turns them into what I like to call undead mice.
Oh, so it doesn't kill them right away.
Well, it kills their nervous system, but it's supposed to kill quickly. And instead, what I'm doing is arguably the least humane thing in the world. If I had basically put it in a glue trap, peed on it, and made fun of its mother, it wouldn't be as bad as what I'm doing.
No, you would call it me when I lived in Buffalo.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I could not believe what happened the other night. We're watching TV at 8 p.m. It's not even late. It's not dark. A mouse comes out from under where my boiler room is, walking. Not trotting, not hugging the baseboard, walking.
Like out
right
for a
past
stroll?
Walking right past my cat. And my cat was even dumbfounded. He's like, is this happening? This would be like a giant ham showing up at Dave's. There's somebody on one of those serving carts just wheeling it by,
Yeah.
So this mouse goes, and then the cat apparently needs to be challenged, so he didn't bother with it. He said, I guess he lives here. The dog, on the other hand, said, nope, jumped on this thing, snapped its neck.
No shit.
That wouldn't have been so bad if it wasn't for the two other mice I also found in a similar state.
Where did you find them?
One was in my office right on my baseboard, trying to climb into the baseboard and repeatedly falling.
Oh, they're all drugged up.
They're all doped up and thirsty. Apparently, it dehydrates the fuck out of them.
Well, then that's supposedly, I guess, what happens with rat poison. Then once they drink water, it kills them. I guess that helps.
Move it along.
Moves the poison along, so it makes them thirsty. They drink and then they die.
So I shot back that thing and took it out. And then I'm thinking, okay, this has to be the two that I hear in the ceiling, right? This has to be them.
Put out a bowl of water for them.
Yeah, right.
I just find them all just bathing, doing the back.
Yeah.
It'll look like Caligula's last party in Brad's office.
A little mouse hot tub.
This might be the best part of it, though. After I think we're in the clear and the kids don't have to be nervous because they don't like mice running around. Who does? I opened my closet right behind me, like right there. And I had put traps in there because it seemed like it would be a hotbed for them to hang out. It was dark, had lots of like pipes going through it and everything. And there's a mouse sitting there eating the cheese off a trap that I had left there a week earlier. And he's just looking at me like, yo.
You got any hot sauce, motherfucker? Shut the door.
This guy
I thought this was going to be Colby Jack.
What's the hot tub?
So I took the trap out and I put more cheese on it and I put it right back in front of him. This fucker did not move a step.
Come on.
Just sat there chewing and looking at me. I could have picked him up. If I had any desire to pick this thing up, I could have. Instead, I shop vacced him too.
Alive?
Alive.
You do. What the hell's wrong with you?
Fuck,
I just told you, I literally am running like The Walking Dead in my walls.
You know the filter's not big enough for that mouse to get through. It's just stuck in the hose.
No, it's through. There's no filter in there.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's right in there. No, I checked. He's in there. And he's very dead. He's very dead. But I am building quite a collection of mice. And so I finally had to bite the bullet today, and I dropped almost $900 just to have a guy plug holes in my house with Brillo. So, yeah, that was my week. But I got to tell you, man, there's something kind of cool about knowing that I've just affected a whole shit ton of mice in a very bad way.
Yeah.
Some of us would call that ultimate power.
Yeah. Ultimate power.
And so,
Fuck mice.
speaking of power, let's throw it back to Dave because nobody gives a shit about Craig and his pool and all that.
Right?
My God, I don't know how do you follow that? Like right now in mouse squeaks, Brad means Hitler, based
I
on
had
those
goats
stories.
in my house.
And next week, ghost mice.
Walt Disney had that connection, so why not?
Yeah.
Oh my God, unreal.
Dave, maybe if you were killing birds, you could top this story.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Yep.
Running a pool vacuum to suck them right out of the air.
Yeah. Those
Shit.
birds.
How was your week, Dave?
It was all right, man. It was nothing crazy. It was just kind of like a nothing week. The other day, a few days ago, after dinner, I was like, oh, I spot an M&M on the floor. I'm like, ooh, an M&M. I pick it up, throw it in my mouth. Wasn't an M&M. It was a piece of corn from I don't know when.
Oh, why are you eating food off the floor?
I thought it was an M&M. It's got a candy coating shell. It's protected.
I would have done the same thing.
Yes.
If it looked like it. I have to
but
agree.
it wasn't. It was a piece of corn.
That's the worst.
And it wasn't like
I kind of did this back in December.
Yeah.
And bad things happened. God damn it.
And it wasn't it was like a piece of corn that was crisp. It was like soggy. Yeah. So that kind of set
mush.
Floor. It was probably fuzzy.
I thought it was an M&M.
No, corn dries out.
Anyway,
Corn- there's too many chemicals in corn now. They don't get mold.
that's right. No.
They
In
don't
any
even
event, so
digest.
that was the most interesting thing in my week up to that point. After that, actually, it was last night. My wife had like a Zoom virtual happy hour with all her friends from work.
Nice.
And now some of the people I know from when I used to work at that company, it was almost 10 years ago at this point. So they're talking. I was in the other room just hanging out, and I've been drinking seltzers lately, just because I'm trying to watch what I eat. I've had it. Right when my double XL T-shirts are asking me and sobbing every time I put them on, I decided that was enough. So, like when my Spenguli T-shirt says Spenguli, I gotta change things. But she's having her happy hour like on the computer in the other room. She set it up in the kitchen so the bar was behind her, just so she could show off for her friends. But so I let him sit, and after a while,
Am I allowed to laugh at that? I'm sorry.
no, you can whatever. You can laugh at that. She won't come
I
find
hate
you.
making fun of Rayanne because she'll text me nasty things as soon as the episode's
Well,
released.
yeah,
Yeah,
because
I love it.
she knows you're a bitch and you'll take it personally. But
She's not wrong.
no,
She's not
but
wrong.
at any point, at some point, I hear her calling for me, so I come in there and there's like 6 or 7 people left on the call. It'd been a couple hours, and it was people that I knew from working there, so we were all friends. So I sat down and hung out. And one of the women just kept talking about how her hair, and I kept busting her balls. Like I was I was on the show, like I was just busting balls. I didn't let anyone have a chance. And one of her friends like, Dave, this isn't your podcast. I don't know what that show's done to you, but you can't be like this all the time. And deep down, I was like, oh, she listens, and it's funny. Yes. Yes, I've done something right. That was the best compliment I received in months.
You know what?
Nice.
And I'm glad you pulled that away from that story because the only thing I pulled from that story is that instead of a bar, if you thought Rayanne was really trying to show off, you'd think she'd put her wedding photo behind her.
No.
Oh, no, I know better.
Yeah.
But the reunion people might not.
We've all hung out with them. They know what the priorities are at this house.
Yeah.
You know, like a family portrait or something. No, but let's see some 3/4 empty bottles of liquor behind me.
That's right. 2 shelves of glasses and an entire shelf of booze. That's what we want people we work with to know about. That's right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But yeah, I was so happy during that. She's like, "Oh, this sounds like your podcast." I was like, "Yes, yes."
Yeah. That's awesome.
Highlight
It's
of my
funny.
week.
I actually had a high school reunion last Saturday doing the same thing.
Yep.
And it was a crazy thing because it was a lot of people I hadn't talked to in 25 years.
Wow.
There's a lot of names on there, and yet we all kind of picked up. And then about halfway through, I realized something was happening. Charlie was on, too. Charlie hopped on.
Is that what was happening, Charlie?
No, it turns out that Charlie's not alone in a lot of his. Charlie sat next to a giant cutout of Trump during the call, and so it was pretty clear what was going. But what was more interesting is how everybody there applauded.
Oh,
this turned into the right-wing reunion.
Oh, Jesus.
I mean, we were talking at one point, and we had a local supermarket down in Patchogue where I grew up, and it was called Meat Farms, because if there isn't a generic thing, Meat Farms. When I was a kid,
again,
Meat Farms.
Tell me again how New York is so much better than around here. A store named
I didn't say there weren't
Farms.
hiccups. I didn't say it was perfect.
Some bar owner out in Cape Cod just got pissed like, damn it, I should have thought of that.
Yeah. But as it turns out, the people who bought this Meat Farms, which was, when I was a kid, it was the size of a 7-Eleven. It was small.
The Meat Farm's gotten bigger.
It grew. Well, they bought an old Stop and Shop.
It grew.
And now
it grew.
There's an entire 10 acres of meat farms. It's just a tremendous amount of meat farms.
There's multiple meat farms throughout the town now.
But
meat
the whole
as
night,
far as the eye can see.
But so basically, I was hanging out with a bunch of right wingers, discussing meat farms and the merits of that versus big name grocery.
Oh my!
And this is the cumulative effect of a Zoom high school reunion.
Oh my God. Now, how many people started off on this call?
I think we peaked at like 15. But
that's pretty good, though.
It wasn't bad, except that it got a little chaotic, because what we learned was if you focus on the video of the person you're talking to and you pace how you talk in between other people, you can hold multiple conversations.
Yeah.
We picked this up pretty quick. It was interesting for sure, but everybody all kept coming back to Trump. It was like, don't tread on meat farms. It was really
Don't tread on meat farms.
I've never seen anything like it. Believe it or not, they're doing another one tomorrow because everybody had such a good time. I might hop on again.
Yeah,
just coming in there with my Obama stickers or something.
Yeah, Obama stickers.
I got to tell you, I didn't contribute to this conversation. I refuse to talk politics in such an environment. I won't do it.
Yeah, because nothing good comes of it. It's always arguments. It's ridiculous.
I try to put fun in Facebook, man, and I'm putting pornographic pictures every Friday, and I'm good with that.
That's why I don't post anything political or anything like that. I stick to trolling fucking flat Earth people and fucking just commenting on people's posts. That's it.
Oh my God.
It's supposed to be a fun place and a place to connect with people you haven't talked to in a long time. Why?
That's long gone. It doesn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't exist that way anymore.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. But
I'm still
I'm
stuck
sorry.
on
I
meat
totally
farm.
hijacked
I'm
your
sorry.
Meat Farms. I'm changing my name to that. There we go.
Meat farms.
Meat farms.
What kind of meat? All.
So we
all
were
meat.
at the fucking. After that, we'd go to Bread Boutique and fucking hang out. It's fucking meat farms. That's fantastic.
What did you do
Noodle-rama.
after you went to the meat farm? I sat on ice for 3 hours.
Yeah.
I didn't say it was good, but let me tell you, way good meat. Like amazing meat. It's right in the name. It's right there.
It's right in the name. Yeah, exactly.
Oh my God.
Should have been A1 Meat Farms.
I've never liked. It's funny. I've never liked the term meat. If you go to a restaurant, you order a fish sandwich, you don't know what you're getting. You're trusting that they're going to batter it properly, so you don't care. But
Yeah.
you would never order, like, walk into an Arby's and go, "Give me a meat sandwich."
No.
I just have a hard time with the word meat.
No, because if you went into Arby's and asked for a meat sandwich, you'd get the guy that's been floating around in memes for 3 months.
I wouldn't say he was floating.
Yeah.
I'd say he was raising tides.
Yeah.
And everything underneath that is all flatbread.
Oh, shit.
So yeah, somehow meat farms, that was my week.
Yep.
It might be the best part of your week now.
That it definitely is. It certainly beats a piece of corn on the floor.
Yeah.
That's for damn sure.
At least you didn't shit that piece of corn out.
Right.
So
Although, how did it get on the floor? He might have.
No, it was under the dining table. It was all the evidence pointed to it was a leftover or
I don't know what your
plate.
projectiles are like. For all I know, you rooster-tailed this thing across 3 rooms. I don't know.
And down a staircase around 2 corn. It's like I could have shot Kennedy with this fucking kernel of corn.
See, he's not potty training Arya. He's playing horse.
Pretty soon, this kid will be able to write her name and shit.
It's got to double tap the window.
Shit.
Oh my god.
She'll be a pro in a couple of weeks. Like she's writing on birthday cakes.
Oh yeah. Yep. Unreal. God damn it.
Oh shit.
For a first grade talent show, she's going to fart the national anthem because she's got such tight sphincter control. You want a BB gun? No need.
No need. Yeah. Fuck.
Wait for the
Craig?
trumpet solo.
My week was pretty. Actually, ended up finishing tearing my deck down. That was a lot of fucking work.
That's cute.
man.
Nobody asked you, but go ahead.
But got the rest of my deck down, so that's done. And then, but I discovered something huge this week.
Was it the
kinda
meat farm?
No, it wasn't the meat farm.
Plural.
I think I discovered the roots of my love for these bad sci-fi and horror movies.
Oh, so you've had kind of a personal revelation.
Yes.
All right.
And
do tell.
it was weird because when I was a kid, there was this movie that I was young. I was probably I would say between 8 and 10. And I talked about it before on the show. We had this thing called Preview. It was before cable. It was called Preview, it would had a button on the top of the box. You'd press it, put it on channel 3, press it, and it'd play the movie that was on at that time. So there was this movie that was on, and I watched it all the time. It was just a sci-fi movie, and it was like a cross between a fantasy and sci-fi movie. It was weird, and I loved it. Every time it came on, I watched it. I must have watched this movie 30 times within the couple of months that it was on.
Jesus.
And I kept, because I just would keep going back to it because, like I said, it was only one channel. So they would air it maybe once a day, and I would just put it on. And so I go to watch Riff Tracks.
Riff Tracks?
Yeah.
I've never heard of this, but go ahead. Let me hear it.
It's basically Mystery Science Theater.
It's the guys from Mystery Science Theater.
Okay.
They have a show called Riff Tracks now because Mystery Science Theater, I guess, is owned by whatever. They've done their own thing. It's the same exact guys that did it. And it's so they do the same thing. They're playing these bad movies. And all of a sudden, now I couldn't remember what the name of that movie was for years.
Yep.
And I hit play. I start watching the opening scene. I'm like, holy shit. This is that fucking movie. And I start watching it, and it was fucking awful.
What was the movie? I'm dying to know.
It's called Prisoners of the Lost Universe.
Prisoners. It sounds amazing.
And starring Richard Hatch.
Oh my god.
Of Battlestar Galactica, not of Survivor and Federal Prison. It was.
I'm sure that made for a few really awkward Comic-Cons.
Yeah. But I remember the thing that got me into this movie as a kid, and it even sparked my interest again, was the original plot when the scientist creates this machine that can sense an object to another dimension. So it's the same planet, it's Earth, but it's just a different dimension.
Okay.
So he accidentally falls into it. And at the time, there's a reporter there. So she sees him. She runs for help. And it's Richard Hatch. And she's like, he went into the machine, blah, blah, blah. So Richard Hatch leans over the thing, and he gets zapped by it. And as he's getting zapped by it, right as he disappears, she runs in to grab him, and it sucks her in. But she was like a second later. When she runs into him in the new universe, he had already been there for over a week.
All right.
And I just thought, so I remember as a kid, I thought that was the coolest thing, because then they realized that the scientist, they're like, how long before? She was like, it was at least 5 minutes. They're like, he could have been here for maybe even a couple of years at this point. So I thought that was a cool concept, how just that,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? The time delay and stuff. But it's so bad.
Well, I gotta ask, there's a question I had, and it's been burning since you started this riveting discussion of this movie. And that is, when they first traveled to this other dimension, did they say, I can't stay long, I have to poo?
No, they didn't. No, they didn't. There are some other lines that are probably just as bad. But it was just one of those things. And I remember as a kid, I loved the movie because it was fun and it had things I liked. Alien looking creatures and just alien look, not just aliens.
Kid, you can watch the videos we do to get that look.
Yeah.
Especially my
But it was just good, and I remember that, and I was like, I think this was my start of down this path of watching these type of sci-fi movies.
But you watched it 30 some odd times, you said, in a month. How do you not remember the fucking name?
Well, I could, like I said, I was a little kid and I watched it.
You just knew it was a movie you liked.
And then never seen it again. Yeah, I just knew it was, and I never seen it again since I was a kid. And I didn't think about it. Like, I thought about it, occasionally through times. But after the past few years, I actually thought about it quite a lot. Like,
that's funny.
I remember that movie.
There was a couple movies when I was young. My neighbor next door growing up, he was a year older than me, but we'd do sleepovers. Like, we'd hang out. We probably the same age, and I would sleep over his house, and we would stay up late, and we'd find just scary, what we thought was scary movies at the time. And there's like two movies.
Eating corn off the floor.
Well, no, we actually, I get to, but
what's Dave's biggest horror movie? Fresh Produce.
Yeah.
Oh, stale or die.
Yeah. The Cobb.
Yeah.
But there's two scenes from two different movies that I distinctly remember and cannot remember the movie, who was in it, what it was about. But there's two scenes I can see in my head, and I'm hoping I stumble across them someday, just so I can say that was the movie.
That was the movie. Yeah.
But we used to watch at that time, and we'd stay up all hours of the night. At 2:00 in the morning, there used to be the local TV show, cable channel, would show dog races at the dog track.
Yeah. Yep.
And there was a guy that would commentate it, but he would read fan mail, and it was
yes.
It was like
PETA. It
was like letters from other lonely widowers that were like, "Thank you for showing me these dogs. This is great." And there was one. It was honestly, it was a guy sitting in front.
Clearly,
it was just a guy, middle aged, salt and pepper hair, in a studio with a sheet hanging behind him. And I distinctly remember one time he'd be like, "Let's check to see if we have any fan mail," and he does one of these. Appears we don't have any, because it was a live show. And I remember being 9 years old. That was the funniest thing. You just we don't have any, no fan mail, nothing. It was fucking amazing.
But that was I remember that. I remember the dog races. I remember that guy doing the thing. I remember that as a kid.
Oh my god! Yep. So, as soon as you started talking about that, but I remember as a kid, there's a few movies I remember loving and watching over and over with my cousins who were the same age, and I couldn't tell you what they were. One of them I remembered recently. It was an animated movie called The Last Unicorn. Do you remember that thing?
Yes.
There was some weird imagery in there.
Do you remember that thing?
But it was as a kid, I was like, oh, it's kind of scary and this and that. But then I go back and watch it, I'm like, this is fucked up. It was some weird
the troll guy with the bow and arrow shoots the unicorn and shit, right?
Yeah, and there was a tree that grew big tits and swallowed one of the guys. It was a weird fucking movie. Yeah. The best part was Christopher Lee voiced one of the characters, and I was like, I know who that is now.
Yeah. Yep.
But there was
Christopher Lee signed up for everything.
Yeah, well,
everything.
Fuck it.
There was never a script he said no to.
No, he also made monster movies popular again in the 50s and 60s when they were colorized and all that.
But for every good one he did, there were 10 Italian bad ones that were horrendous. But he literally just would walk into studios and be like, "What do you got for me?" Like a temp worker.
Yeah, fuck it.
He just showed up. Do you have a gap to fill? I'll act.
Yeah. Yep.
But anyway.
But it was just funny seeing that. I remember, and I was just blown away by that.
Yeah.
And But I mean, other than that, that was it. I didn't do anything else. But it just blew. It just made me think. I wonder if that's where I got my love for those. I mean, I always loved sci-fi, but just for those whatever. I don't. It's.
Well, I bet
know
there's
it's bad,
there's
but
something
I still like it.
I like while we were talking, I looked up the movie on my phone and I see like the poster and it was like that cartoon drawn to look like, and it looks like, you know what the movie feels like when you watch it.
Yeah.
It's like, it's
Yep.
almost not, it's not quite like a handheld camera. It's close, but it was steady.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
But, so I wouldn't be surprised if like you just get a feel for like that was a fun movie and it wasn't a conscious decision you made. So essentially it's not your fault you like shitty movies.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm getting at. Yeah.
So
Stop
whose
trying
fault
to find
is,
deeper meaning in this.
yeah, whose fault is
doesn't
it
exist.
really? Richard Hatch.
Richard Hatch. Yeah. Yep. Of Battlestar Galactica fame.
That's
not
right.
survivor in federal prison. Yeah.
Blame the other guy too.
I gotta throw that disclaimer in there.
Yeah, the other Richard Hatch is more concerned about the meat store or whatever the fuck it's called.
Look, if you're not going to get it right, don't disrespect it. Just don't talk about it.
What
You
was
don't
it
have the
called?
reverence. Meat
Street
Farms.
Throbbing meat. What is it? Meat veins.
It's the Gristle Gallery.
Gristle Gallery. Oh, nice.
Oh shit.
Oh, well, that was, I mean, we've just spent like what we usually do, 30 minutes on how our weeks were.
Yep.
And like Brad said, this week he's the star of our show. So I don't
Yep.
think, Craig, I don't think we should take any more of the spotlight away from Brad.
No.
Because we know he needs it with that pale ass face on this camera. So,
I've got color now.
all right,
I've
so
got some-
no, you have a color and it's not right. But let's let's push forward. So I'm sorry.
I got nothing. I'm taking shit from a guy who literally can't control his lower half of his body. Between restless leg syndrome and fucking spastic colon, and I'm the one taking shit because my computer doesn't have quite as good of a camera. Eat shit, Dave. Eat my shit.
You look like someone colored an ultrasound picture with a crayon.
I can't even argue that. That's fucking funny. That's fucking funny. I concede to my greater wisdom. How about it?
Yeah.
Oh, all right. So with that, Brad, why don't you lead us into where we're going for the rest of this episode?
All right. Well, one of the things we covered over the last few weeks, since you want to, make this my show, which is a bunch of shit, by the way, so cut that out.
You've been wanting to make it your show since at least I joined.
No, I wanted to make it mine because you joined.
Oh. Either way, I'm still right in the end.
Big difference. Oh, no, you're not right in your end. That's for sure. But anyway, let's get into it. I want to have some fun this week. And so even though we're like kind of hinting at regret, I think we have the chance to hypothetically fix the past and maybe even improve the future, all while kind of being stuck in our pathetic present. And I think we should do that by kind of reintroducing yourselves to not only each other, but also to the listeners. And
All
I think
right.
there's no better way for the three idiots on this show who are so buried in pop culture. Craig did 20 minutes on a movie he couldn't remember the name of. Okay. Yeah. But I think that's an appropriate segue because I am going to ask you guys for the first thing today to cast the movie of your lives.
Ooh.
And that includes all lead and supporting actors, at least one primary director, and it has to have one that guy in it. Because that guys are awesome in Hollywood, not only because they're awesome, but also because they're based on the fact that we all know somebody like that. And that's why they work. So I wanted to have some fun with it. I was curious to see how you guys see yourselves if you were making a movie about your own life. The plot's not important because none of us are important.
Yeah.
That's fair.
And because he didn't put anything on the outline, Craig goes first.
But I did. So, The Life of Craig. Directed by none other than Roger Corman, because that's my thing.
All right.
Very good. Very good. Know your lane. Stay in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I wanted to be shitty with crappy edits and just weird shit and choppy, like my life.
Yeah.
Your life is a series of jump cuts. I agree.
Yeah, exactly. So
Just like all the carpets ever
start
installed.
off. Yeah,
Don't let that joke die on the vine. That was funny.
that was fucking funny. That was fucking funny. Oh shit! All right, so I got casting in my family, my immediate family here. Would me to start off would be. I had trouble with this because it would have to be either Chris Pratt or Daniel Radcliffe. Not sure. I'd have to see the fucking audition tapes. Fran would be played by.
No. You
Rewind.
don't get to move
Rewind.
past that.
What do you mean? I need to see the audition tapes.
Well, The Rock wasn't available.
Yeah.
Fucking kidding me? Go back and try again, you idiot.
Dude,
What do you mean?
that answer is only valid if Chris Pratt is playing you and Daniel Radcliffe is playing that fucking thing hanging off your neck.
All right, done. Both of them. Yeah.
Why on earth would you pick those two actors? What do they have in common other than skin and teeth?
Well, I think Daniel Radcliffe wore glasses in fucking Harry Potter.
Harry Potter and the Prisoner of... Oh, my God. Yeah, Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Ascot band. Terrible.
What,
But
that
then,
joke? Yes.
As to play my wife, I thought this was perfect because of the characters she typically plays would be Lena Headey.
Oh, okay.
All right.
I'm actually totally on board with that one. That makes
I
perfect
agree.
sense.
And this also shows that you're capable of knowing what other characters should be.
Yeah.
Why
Yes.
can't you get yourself right?
Yeah.
Well, because Brad Pitt wasn't available. My mother, Sally Fields.
Oh, good call on that one.
Okay.
Even though it's Sally Field.
Sorry, Sally Field. My stepdad would be Steve Martin,
Okay. I met him once, but yeah, I'm with you.
and because he's very slapstick silly, but he's very serious and grown up at the same time.
Cool.
You know what I mean? It was just it seemed to fit.
He's Uncle Jay is the guy, from what I've heard, that nobody wanted to ever disappoint.
No, you don't want to disappoint the guy at all because he's very serious and he takes everything very serious, but he doesn't. He's very silly about
He's
everything.
goofy, but he takes things to heart, I think is where it is.
Yes.
It's funny because I remember Rayanne telling a story. She's like, "Oh yeah, we used to fucking do this." Like, didn't care what they wrecked of your mothers, of her mothers, of the uncle. Like, they're like, "Fuck it, or whatever." But we don't want to upset Uncle Jay.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we don't want to upset Jay.
He's just too nice of a guy. And that's what I feel about like seeing Steve Martin. He seems like he's a genuinely nice guy and he acts normal, but then there's those moments where he's just ridiculously silly. And that reminds me of my stepfather.
All right.
I get that. Good call.
And then my actual father, my biological father, is that guy, John C. McGinley.
Oh, okay.
Ooh.
Okay.
Because my father has that sarcastic but comedic part to him. You know what I mean? And it seemed to fit. And he kind of looks like him. So there was that. Then for my sister Kaylin, I chose Jenny McCarthy because
all right.
burp and fart jokes will make her laugh. You know?
Wait.
that a
She's
thing,
usually the one
Jenny
burping and farting, though, right?
What's that?
She's usually the one burping and farting.
Yeah.
Wait, who? Kaylin or Jenny McCarthy?
Yes. Well, that's what got Jenny McCarthy partially famous on that MTV show, right?
Yeah, well, she was just out there, but she was like one of the guys, and that's my sister Kaylin.
Okay, I'll give you that. All right.
You know what I mean? And that was more of the thing. She's one of the guys. She's got that same sense of humor and, you know, that immaturity about her. That is, I thought that fit. And then my sister Courtney would be Reese Witherspoon. Very, tries to act very down to earth, but classy and very, concerned with her appearance and the way she presents herself.
Well, I'm sorry. I'm picturing All I'm picturing is Sweet Home Alabama with the lead actor. Wait. With the lead actress marrying a black dude, and that movie's going to end very differently.
Yep.
They changed the name of the movie to Split Home Alabama.
And then I move on to my friends.
Oh.
And I had...
There's no one to cast?
Mike would be Gary Busey.
What?
Manny was Nick Nolte.
Oh,
You're just getting the craziest looking people in Hollywood.
I was going to say,
anybody with a bad mugshot.
The tamer version of Gary Busey.
Yeah, exactly. And they're related. You know what I mean? Manny and Mike are related. So
Nick Nolte is basically Gary Busey before he ripped a line of cocaine in the bathroom. You're out drinking with them both. Nick Nolte is the before, he's the after, but you're all still drunk and fucked up.
Yeah. And then for Dave, I chose Seth Rogen.
God damn it!
Yeah, I knew that was coming
because I knew he hates him. But
I hate
they're both
that
the same
fucking
size. Yeah, but you laugh like that too.
God damn it!
You know. Yeah. And then, of
course,
you
see how
Brad,
he got pissed there? Hold up a second. He got pissed
because he realized it.
You made a fat joke.
No,
Dave did like 3 push-ups this week and drank a few seltzers, and all of a sudden he's like fucking Richard Simmons over here.
No, he got more upset because he made fun of his laugh, and then I said, "Yeah, you do that." and he
I got upset because I couldn't argue with his choice. That's why I'm upset.
Then retract
God damn it! Yeah, fuck.
And then for as Brad, I had James Spader.
James Spader, okay.
I like that.
Yeah. Nobody else likes him.
No.
I'm still good with that.
No, I just thought for some reason.
I don't need your affirmation, you ugly fuck.
For some reason, it wasn't that. I just said that. For some reason, it seemed right.
Yeah, I can picture that. Yes,
and it was more of a less of a breakdown between his previous characters to even his current one, like on Blacklist. For some reason, I don't know. I just saw it.
Even when he was fucking Ultron, he was a pretentious asshole.
Yes, yeah.
And so, and yet I'm okay with this. Go on.
No, it just fit.
Even when you're making fun of him, he still wants to hear more about himself.
Yeah, go on.
By all means, continue.
That's fucked up.
Was it.
Go on.
But that was it. Roll credits.
That's good.
Awesome. So I'm last in this movie. At least James Spader makes a cameo.
Yeah, you get the closing scene. So everybody's like, "Oh, remember that James Spader movie?" Yeah.
I like.
Am I credited as grammar Nazi?
Yeah.
You were cast just to put on the poster.
James Spader would be the guy to come out and be like, "I'm sorry, that's 2 with 2 O's."
Yeah.
No, he'd do it snarkier. He'd be like, 2. You know, he says more with his inflection than with his words.
He does. He's a good actor.
He's a damn good actor.
I like James Spader a lot.
He was great on The Office when he played Robert California.
Robert California was fantastic.
That season could have been lost forever if they didn't get him, man.
Yep.
It's good shit. And speaking of shit, Dave's movie has an appropriate title. So, Dave, take it, my friend.
Yeah, the movie about me would be called Shit Show for obvious reasons. And I think that the timing of you asking
it all
this
takes place in one room lined with plastic, like Dexter.
It's just Dave trying to get up.
Yeah,
he's just slipping everywhere.
It's like 30 minutes of rocking back and forth. Yeah.
We shouldn't call it Shit Show. We should call it No-mentum.
No-mentum.
Oh, God.
Damn it. So my first thought, if it's a movie called Shit Show, you can't have anyone else but Fred Durst direct it.
Agreed.
Right? Agreed.
Yeah.
Yep. And the opening line would be like, I can't talk too long, I have to poo.
That's it. Only this time it's a relevant plot point.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
No, it'd be a slight difference. Like, I can't talk too long. I'm pooing.
Yeah, exactly. Either that or just everybody talks to you too long.
About halfway through, he's like, no, I can hang all afternoon now.
Yeah.
The opening scene is my face just all red, and then the rest of the movie I'm hobbling around.
Yeah, sweating. Yeah.
I am
walking
not
like you just got off a horse.
Just ice skating sideways around town.
Oh shit.
He takes selfies with stained jeans.
That's right. And I could be portrayed by none other than Richard Karn. Wilson himself. Not Wilson.
Really? Okay.
Al Borland.
Al Borland himself, and that is perfect.
Al Borland.
Perfect.
Ever since I was able to grow a beard, people have been like, you know who you look like? I'm like, yes, I know who I look like.
Yeah.
Please drive through.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I used to play this game in my training classes where I would have a new group of 16 people every month or so, and I'd be with them for 2 straight weeks at least. And a lot of people, I would look at them. There'd be 3 or 4 people every class, between 16 and 20 people. There'd be 3 or 4 that would remind me of some celebrity, like they had a celebrity doppelganger. And I would try to figure it out, and I'd play this game with them over the 2 weeks. And it was fun after that I did the first 1 or 2, because for the rest of the class, I could see everybody else just like sitting and staring at folks like,
Trying to figure it out, yeah.
But I would tell them, hey, look at me and tell me who it was, who you think I look like. And I had a running list of celebrities that I would consistently get as my doppelganger. I would get Al Borland. I would get Kevin Smith when he was still fat. I would get Turtle from Entourage when he was still fat.
Oh,
I don't see that one. I don't see that one.
Yeah.
At all.
Every so often.
Kevin Smith.
Yeah, I mean, if you do this job with my hat on backwards,
Oh, yeah,
Kevin
that's
Smith.
Kevin Smith right there. Yeah.
and I could do his stupid picture face.
Yeah.
No, that's Travolta from that movie we talked about a few weeks ago.
Oh, yeah. No, this. Anyway.
See, that has to be one of our video clips now.
Yeah, that has to be a video clip
yeah.
now.
That'll be in there. So basically, any celebrity you can think that was a little overweight and had a beard, I would get as a doppelganger. It never failed.
You're like Hurley from Lost.
Yeah. I'm not that big. Jesus.
He was fat and eventually bearded.
Curly from Lost.
If he was fat, eventually bearded.
All right, keep going, Dave.
Keep going.
You've intrigued me. I'm sorry. Movie.
Yeah.
So for my wife, who I've consistently said is way out of my league, I would cast
It's not
Gal
just
Gadot, Wonder Woman. Oh yeah, I know. It's public knowledge.
Yeah.
There are records filed at City Hall saying
Gal
supporting
Gadot,
that.
somebody chopped her legs off at the knees.
Yeah.
Because what's Rayanne, 5'1"?
Yeah.
But
Dave, I gotta
way
ask,
more,
when you got married,
way better looking.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
But like my thought was her stunt double would be Gina Carano.
so
There
you
you go.
can't let her go though. Gina
No, you
Carano
can't.
got you in trouble the last time we did something
Yep.
like this.
No, we're cool now.
That's
We're
it. You're not going to be able to watch the second season of The Mandalorian. You're fucked.
good. She doesn't know what's coming out. Shut up.
I gotta ask though, when you got married, did the minister or the judge or whoever married you, did they like say, are you sure to Rayanne when you exchange vows? Was like really written right on the certificate?
Everybody between here and where we got married asked her that question.
Just in the middle of it, he's like, do you, Rayanne, want to blink twice if you're in trouble? Save it.
She has a whole notebook of safe words.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds right.
All right. Sorry about that. And
No, you're
apologies
totally
to
fine.
Rayanne again for Gina Carano.
No, yeah, see? My kids were kind of that was a little weird one. My oldest, I picture her like I don't know if you guys remember Kirsten Dunst when she was in Interview with the Vampire.
Yes.
Like she was cute and dainty and everything, but if you talked to her, like she had a little side to her.
Yep.
That's my oldest.
She
like,
was more adult than her years would let on.
Yeah.
I only met your daughter the handful of times, but I have to say one of the things that strikes me about her is how composed she is.
Yeah, it's funny. She's not quite 11 yet, and she's had the nickname of Nellie for since she was a baby. She was just kind of wild as a kid. She was all over the place, just moving. So it was like, whoa, Nellie, and kind of stuck. So, but she's grown up. She acts like a grandmother. We call her Nana Nellie. Like we'll find her sitting with the 2.5-year-old, like reading stories. I'm like, what are you doing? She's like, oh, I wanted to read her a book. And it's like, I don't even want to read this kid books. What are you doing?
Yeah.
That's awesome, though.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Though.
No, she's great.
kind of an old soul, and I think that's why she and Sophia got along so well.
She is, yeah.
Yeah.
Souls
I'll agree
right
with
there.
that because both of them. Yep.
Yep. She actually mentions your daughter, but she's like, are we gonna get to see them again? I'm like, yeah, someday, when we're allowed back out.
Yeah. When
4 years from now,
outside.
Dave's going to still be using COVID as an excuse not to hang out with our family.
Yeah.
You never know. There's trace amounts, and they had the mice.
Yeah, it's in the air now. It's in the air.
The mice.
I heard
carry
there's
the
Chinese
COVID.
people down in Bristol. They cough a lot.
Yeah, nothing bad in East Providence.
No, right? Yeah.
No.
Oh, I'm
Okay,
immune.
keep going, Matthew. Let's get
My
to
son
Matthew.
he'd be Evil Knievel. He's Daddy, I want to jump off that. No, buddy. Yeah, but no, dude.
Yeah, but
He's the kid turning couch pillows like decorative pillows into sleds in the living room on the hardwood floors. Like that's him.
yeah, that's awesome. Though.
Did you remind him of the time where he broke his arm and had to wear a pillow?
Yeah, he doesn't care.
Maybe walking around with the big foam box around his.
Walking around like this. Kid just walking around. Hey.
Yeah.
Doesn't care.
He didn't care. He didn't care either. I asked him like, "Does it hurt?" He's like, "Ah."
Yeah, I gotta hand it to you, and never repeat this to him, but the amount of don't give a fuck that your kid has is impressive.
Yeah.
He doesn't fucking care at all.
I've noticed that about him. That's why I don't want to play Nerf darts with him. I really don't.
No.
Yeah.
He's the kid that will wade his way through a hailstorm of bullets just to hit you once.
Yeah.
And I'm afraid I'm gonna like have a blood sugar attack, collapse, and he's just gonna be there kicking me with his toe.
No,
trying to get me to move just so he can shoot me again.
He's smart about some things. He'll wait till you come to. He'll be standing over you with just like his gun waiting for you to open your eyes.
Yeah.
There's no fun in dead prey. I get it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's right.
He doesn't want anybody calling him a cheetah.
No.
Pride.
But it's funny. He's just like his little sister, which is why I figured I'd cast her with Robbie Knievel. She's just like him. She's just like him.
That diaper change scene is going to be epic.
Oh my god. No, this kid doesn't like pants. I can't tell you how often this 2.5-year-old is running around our house with no pants on.
That runs in our family.
I've heard that.
We saw it tonight. Craig made the
I'm not
mistake
wearing
of
pants
standing
right now.
up.
Yeah.
Why? Put some fucking pants
Why
on.
would
Have
I?
some
Why would I
dignity.
have to? No.
Dignity.
I don't
No.
You know what? Like it's not just him too. Like it's everybody. Like, I remember Ryan has told me stories about when her sisters would come home from school and just like take their pants off. I'm like, what kind of house did you live in?
Exactly.
And why don't you do that when you come home from work?
Yeah. But why would I wear pants right now?
Exactly.
Dave,
And,
you
like,
and I are effectively the same person. Why are we not like friends?
I don't see any reason to be wearing pants right now.
Yeah. Well, she's just like that, man. We'll be like, all right, you want to put your pants on? No.
Yeah.
Oh. And I don't know I know, Craig, you haven't. You may have seen it, and Brad, I know you have. If you've ever tried to wrestle clothes onto a 2.5-year-old, it's not worth the effort or the mental anguish you're going to deal with.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
I'm like-
Kids' clothes fit right when they're on, but only when they're on.
Only when they're on.
Other curve, roll, and bump. And I mean, my daughter, when she was young, she's the same weight now. She just grew, but I mean, she looked like we tied her off with rubber bands trying to like kill her circulation. That was most of her childhood, you know, that and stomping
Little Michelin
Tokyo.
man.
Oh,
It was worse. It was worse. She had 5 chins, and all she ate was cheese.
Yeah.
Kid scared me. I'm like, oh, great. I'm going to have the kid with the great personality all through school.
Stinking like cheese.
Just reeking of dairy.
Oh,
Yeah.
my God.
It was awful. But then she just stretched.
Yeah.
I've never seen anything like it. But, you know, we tried to get pants on her, and once they were on, she could move.
Oh, yeah.
But, you know, that knee section.
What's amazing is kids that age have this ability to turn their bodies into like liquid. Like I never like it's amazing how loosely their joints fit together and what they're like fucking moles. They can squeeze through a fucking keyhole if they have to.
Yeah, right into my house, right in my walls.
Yeah. I've never seen anything like it. But I don't want to talk about how I've handled that because I'll probably get arrested. So
Yeah.
I've let her drop a couple times. I'm like, you know what? If you're gonna do this, I'm gonna let you deal with it.
Yeah.
Dave, let me
That's it.
remind you, just to reassure you, that I once told the story on this show about putting a thermometer in my son's rectum
Yeah.
and worried that I shattered it, and then starting a conversation with my mother without telling her that part of the story.
Yeah.
And just going right ahead with it. The good news is there's no rectal tearing, Mom. Literally answered the phone and said that right away because I knew why she was calling. If you can think of a better intro to a phone call, I defy you. I defy you.
At least you didn't follow that up with, yes, but how's Ethan?
When you come up next week, bring cucumbers. We're out.
Yeah, you freeze them first.
That's how the conversation started when the cops called John Walsh.
The good news is the head's intact.
Yeah. The head's not there, but there's no rectal bleeding.
Yeah. You seem pretty intact south of the mouth.
Yeah.
I'm laughing because this shouldn't be this funny.
You're right.
And it definitely shouldn't have stemmed from a conversation about a movie about your family.
No.
Yeah, exactly.
No.
Are you?
Oh.
Let's complete your cast.
Oh, yeah. So the only people I have left are you two guys. So Brad, fittingly enough, would be cast by one of those guys. And that guy I picked was Adam Goldberg.
Dude.
Ooh.
You know what's funny?
Based purely on looks.
You know what's funny is
That's
I
not good.
changed.
No. We pick on your nose a lot, but like it's a prominent feature of his.
Yeah,
But he's got that
only-
not neurotic, but he's got that like persistent personality too.
No,
Yeah.
I get it.
because
You're not
you know
the
what's
first
funny
one to say that.
is you wrote yours in the outline, which I was glad you did because I had that.
No
Brad,
shit.
Yes, that was Brad in mine, and I saw it and I changed it, and that's when I swapped my father to, you know what I mean, out to that, but I still like the James Spader because I was actually a toss up with Brad.
James Spader's a good one.
I would have
You
never
know,
picked that.
I
And
think-
honestly, I like that idea. I'm going
Yeah.
with that.
Yeah, I think the James Spader personality that's perfect. Yeah.
Yep.
And then the other one I had was you, man, and I would cast you with Jesse Smollett.
Of course.
He was the black guy that everybody loved until they found out, and they were like, "No, he's not one of us anymore."
Yeah.
He
Fuck
put
that
on
guy.
white face.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, wearing white face, walking around.
Yeah. And if I had money left in my budget for this movie, my two neighbors, Jay and Steve, I would cast with Selma Hayek and Kate Beckinsale.
just to be surrounded by them. Yeah.
That'd be great. Kate Beckinsale walks into the scene. You're like, "Hey, Steve."
Yep.
Cutting her grass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just act like nothing is weird about the fact
And white
that she's
lingerie.
Steve.
Yeah, fuck it. Why not? Yeah. Yeah. I'd be throwing
Taking
sticks like, hey, pick that up. Oh, you got some acorns over there.
Yeah, go get that, Phil.
Yep.
Oh God.
Anyway,
So that would be my
Yep.
movie.
Hey,
Awesome.
And there's only one movie left to cast, and that is The Man of the Hour.
the man of the hour.
Okay, this isn't
Brad.
like a fucking birthday party. Let's settle that shit down.
Nope.
But there is one movie left. You guys joke about me all the time, but there's really two things that define me based on this show. 136 other episodes prior. So my movie is called Overthinking and Overdrinking.
Oh, I was gonna say it's Pale in Your Nose, but okay, let's go with that.
That's good. I'm sorry. Could you move your fat and repeat that?
What's the name of the? That would be great if the name of this movie was Paranormal Activity. Just because the camera that he's using.
You know, just as you said that, your camera got all weird. Yeah, like for real. Your camera just got weird. But anyway, go fuck yourself. The director of my movie would be none other than the incomparable Spike Lee.
That makes
Because
sense.
I don't think
does.
anybody captures suburban white boy plight quite like Spike Lee.
Oh, see, I was going the opposite way. I'm like, oh, he's a fake New Yorker too. Why not?
You're right.
You lived in Buffalo. What the fuck do you know about New York? You peed on
Nothing.
midgets.
I know more about Canada than New York.
That's a good point. All right, at least you admit it. I would be played by Nicolas Cage because, yes.
Obvious reasons.
Agreed. Craig, do you have anything to say about that? Nobody fucking cares.
Nope.
Melissa would be played by Rachel McAdams because I love Rachel McAdams, and this is the only way for me to work Rachel McAdams into a conversation without
So wait,
insulting anybody.
Now I have a question about this. What color hair is she going to have? Now I understand.
Melissa's color. Cause it's
Okay,
Melissa.
all right. Well, that's where I was going. 'Cause
Okay.
Rachel McAdams has been in a lot of films with every color hair you can think of.
She's a natural
Yeah.
brunette, like
Yep.
reddish brown. She will carry her natural color.
Okay.
I'm good with that.
All right.
Sophia is a huge fan of Stranger Things. And
All right.
also, she has more than a passing resemblance to the girl who plays
That little
11.
black kid. No.
David Harbour.
Yeah, David Harbour. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Okay, I want you all to look at yourselves in the mirror. You just insulted an 11-year-old girl.
Yeah. I know. I insulted you.
Yeah.
The pick that you're going to make is actually fucking perfect.
Yeah, it is.
But in the story that I tell my daughter, you both insulted her.
Yeah.
That's fine.
She was borderline on Dave anyway. Don't really matter. But
You know what's funny is I met Millie Bobby Brown.
Did you
and-
really?
Yeah. And she is, I would say your daughter, that's a perfect pick for your daughter because she is way more mature than her age. You know what I mean? And very, just a decent person, intelligent, you know what I mean? And
she seems media trained. She actually ran into my elbow at that very same Comic-Con. She was running up one of the aisles to get to an autograph session, and she cracked me right in the elbow. And she looked back with her little dainty British accent. It's like, I'm sorry.
She's
Yeah,
British?
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But I told my daughter this story, and she was like, you touched
Very-
Millie Bobby Brown? I'm like, not in the way I would have chosen to, but
But just a yeah,
I was going to ask you if they're close to the same age, but I can't ask you that
Yeah.
now.
it's right in her name. Her character's name is 11.
Yep. Yeah.
But no, how old
she's-
how old is she? This actress?
She's
I
like
think
13,
she's like-
14.
She's
maybe a
early
little
teens. Okay, all right. So
yeah,
they're-
she's early.
she's close-
teens.
no,
older.
she's-
Maybe a little older.
No,
It's-
now
no,
she's probably about 16. I think she's like 17 now.
I see. Now I agree with Craig. Like it makes sense because when I first met your daughter, when I first met Sophia, I thought she was older than she was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Simply because of how tall she was.
Yeah,
And
she's
now,
tall,
I
but
mean-
she's very smart and she's very mature. I mean, she can still be silly like a kid, and she, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Once you get to know her, she'll do. But she's polite and just. It's a good choice. It's a good choice because she seemed. When I met Millie Bobby Brown, that's how she was, and it didn't seem forced. Like you said, media trained.
Yeah.
There was some. She was genuine. There was a lot of genuine.
She wasn't in her media
Yeah.
mode yet.
Yeah.
I got you.
Seems like a nice
So-
kid. I don't know much about it because
No,
I
yeah.
can't stand the show. I've tried 3 times to get into that one too, and it's just too much for me.
I've never
Really,
watched
I love it. I love
it's
it.
a little. It's
Fantastic
silly. I mean,
show.
if you like 80s references, it's great. But
Okay.
Well, that's the thing.
Is that what
There's
it,
a lot of
is it
storylines.
built off of like? Is it bank on like your nostalgia keeping is the hook?
It is.
Yeah, I
And
don't know about
for
that.
me,
I-
for me, even more because a lot of it it starts off right with like D&D with Dungeons and Dragons, but then it's basically 80s. It's our childhood.
Okay.
That, you know what I mean? It's that time.
But the things that are happening that drive the story along aren't necessarily driven by a lot of these 80s references.
Yeah, exactly.
And there were segments that I did see, and I didn't get that far into it, but it seemed like they were a little shoehorned. But I was also looking for fault, so that's not the way to watch a show and enjoy it.
They pay homage to a lot of older movies from that era too. Like even the chase scene on the bikes with the vans,
like E.T.
Yeah.
like E.T. They did that,
Right.
they're doing it purposely.
Oh, I know.
So that's what I like about it.
Okay.
I mean, you know
But
what?
in any event, I think that's a smart. I think that's a smart pick. Yeah, they have similar. Like they both carry themselves in a way that makes them seem older than they are, but they're still true to their own age. Like they're still kids. Yeah, I get it. Makes sense.
Yes, exactly.
So Sophia was Millie Bobby Brown. I thought it was really a nice bit of irony that the best person to play Ethan was actual Bobby Brown.
Well,
I would just love to watch Bobby Brown reenact a scene in my kitchen and then just out of nowhere just bust into like My Prerogative. I would love nothing more because that's the kind of thing Ethan would do too. The amount I got him
just runs around the house pulling everybody out of a bathtub every time they try to take a shower.
Exactly.
He's like, I call an ambulance.
Yeah, every time the bathroom door's closed for more than 5 minutes, he slams it open.
he has a panic attack when he hears running water.
Yeah.
Every time I pour sugar on the counter, he comes running.
Yeah.
Got a credit card and a mirror.
Oh shit.
Everybody's talking all this stuff about me.
Every time you see him, he's wearing a headset like this. He's got the microphone with the earpiece.
Oh yeah,
talking to people.
He's got to free his hands for dancing, man.
Oh yeah.
It cracks me up though because we got Ethan an MP3 player a couple of years ago, and I loaded it up with nothing but those like kids music albums, like Kids Bop,
like Kids Bop. Yep.
Yeah. And I loaded him up with every Kids Bop imaginable. That's all he has on there. But he doesn't know how to use the MP3 player to change albums. So in his eyes, his MP3 player has 12 songs on it. And it's all reenactments. It just so happens he loves the 80s one. So he's walking around the house like, Dad, you got to hear this hot new song. And he starts going, wanted, dead or alive. And it's a riot because he's learning. He's getting the lyrics wrong in that adorable 6-year-old way.
That's awesome.
So again, Bobby Brown. Absolutely.
That's awesome.
And not Bobby Christina because she's fucking dead.
Yeah.
Based on the other night, Maggie. Yeah, that's what I mean. Seriously, if you're in the Brown/Houston family, don't bathe.
Exactly.
Nobody's expecting it from a crack addict anyway. So just
take
go
a shower.
Take a shower.
Just go out in the rain. Buy your drugs in the rain. I give a shit. But based on the
Brown
other night,
family's got life jackets to take baths.
Snorkels. And all the snorkels are facing forward when you're standing up.
Yeah. Fucking drowning like turkeys looking up in the rain.
The New Jersey police probably has a special code just for Brown/Houston emergencies.
Right.
We got a 71. Yep. That's right. They were all in a hot tub.
Yeah.
Fuck them all. But Maggie is going to be played by Billy the Exterminator based on what I saw the other night. The way she snapped a mouse's neck while the cat just watched like a pathetic piece of shit. Today's my cat's birthday and I should be singing his praises, but I'm staring at him with judgment. You let that mouse walk by and the dog took care of it. You're a fucking cat. Be better. Speaking of the cat, Mookie is going to be played by Patrick Stewart because he's also an insufferable prick.
What's wrong with Patrick Stewart?
Nothing,
right.
But he's British and he just sounds like a prick. He sounds judgmental. I could have done Ben Kingsley. I mean, would Ben Kingsley sit better with you guys?
Yeah, it would. It's the same. I know where you're going.
I can listen. I can get more pissed off at Ben Kingsley than Patrick Stewart.
I just think either one of them could be like literally going, "Ooh, this pasta contains riboflavin," and you want to hit them.
I played
All
Hamlet
right.
in the park.
All right, exactly. All right. I got you. Okay.
And,
All right.
and then Bobby Brown comes by and is like, "Which park? Because I bought shit there."
Yeah, exactly.
I also have to include my neighbors. I didn't cast you two because I think you two should play yourselves. But I did. I think.
I got my
bad
first
movie.
acting gig.
But Emmett the dog is going to be played by Dave. Because he also shits everywhere without an ounce of concern. And then my lesbian neighbor, the owner of Emmett, and a damn fine woman with a real relaxed way of raising pets. She's gonna be played by the one and only Earl Bowen. And that, my friends, is the cast and crew of Overthinking and Overdrinking, coming soon, nowhere near you.
She owns a free-range golden retriever.
Yeah, exactly.
Free range.
He's feral only when it comes to shitting. No, he actually knows his targets, but he comes over purposely to piss on my cans.
Yeah.
And I
Nice.
mean, it's getting stupid now. And
No,
the fucking
see,
landmines
in
this
his-
thing leaves.
In his eyes, because he pisses on him, he's like, that motherfucker keeps taking my fucking cans and putting them in his garage during the week. That's what it is. He's like, this motherfucker keeps putting those cans in his house like they're his.
Well, you know, honestly, he's got a bunch of bones and outdoor toys that he plays with. And I think
Yep.
in the middle of the night one night, I'm going to go over there and shit on them.
Oh my God! Will you please take pictures?
Pee on it. Yeah.
I'm going to do neither, you fucking pervert.
Oh,
But
that'd
yeah,
be awesome.
I'll take picture of the evidence. Okay, I'll do
Yeah,
that.
that's what I meant. I don't want a picture of you like mid shit on some dog's toy in someone else's yard.
Stop acting like that was the obvious answer. Anyway, all right, enough of this. We've addressed your movie. Now it's time to own your past. Real true time. Dave, you've been on the show a year and a half now, so
I have.
you're no more new guy shit. Okay, but I want all three of us to name 2 to 3 truly embarrassing things you've done or enjoyed. Like maybe it's a guilty pleasure that no one on the show or in our audience has ever heard before. So, Dave, don't go to a shit story. It doesn't apply here.
It's
Okay.
I'm going to have, I mean, someone else is going to have to go first because I literally have to dig to think because I've said fucking everything.
And nobody believes. Nobody. Well,
all right,
you've said
I
it
can-
all.
I can lead
I'm
us
thinking.
off. I can lead
Okay.
us off. All right. The first thing that comes to mind. So when I was starting to go through puberty, and you know how you start discovering yourself. Yeah. Thank you, Brad.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. What, man? What?
I'm sorry, just a hairball. Poorly timed.
So,
Oh, yeah. No, that comes later
pressing
after
your
puberty.
Wiener into the fucking hassock in the fucking corner of the room.
No. Nothing that elaborate. What- I discovered I had this rabbit fur when I was a kid. Now I was in the Boy Scouts. I got this at like some Boy Scout event. It was a rabbit fur, right?
A
Like,
pelt.
it was a
rabbit
pelt.
pelt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I don't know if you've ever held rabbit fur, had like a rabbit's foot, but that's some soft fucking fur,
yeah.
right? Now, by the time I was done going through puberty, you could have used that rabbit fur to brush gravel off the back of a Home Depot flatbed. I I discovered that this rabbit fur was much softer than my hands and helped me learn about how I was becoming a man.
Yeah.
So some poor little rabbit rolled over in its grave thousands of times between the age of 14 and 16.
That little rabbit's soul, every time he's walking finally free under the Rainbow Bridge, he stops and starts twitching because you're jerking yourself again with this thing.
So by 1995, you could have used this rabbit fur to scrub clean your laundry.
Oh.
It was like
I mean, I'm laughing.
corrugated metal roofing by the time
Okay.
I was done with it.
I want to stay silent and see how many other analogies you can make. Jesus Christ.
So yeah, I used to jerk off with this rabbit fur, this rabbit pelt that I had.
Oh, your parents
just-
are gonna be so mad they gave you that.
Oh my god.
My
Yeah.
first masturbation wasn't with my hand either. I learned because I decided that humping pillows would be a much better play.
Oh. Okay.
Two pillows, one thick one and firm on the bottom. That's my base. That's my support. And then you have a more pliable top pillow
Oh,
on
that you
top.
can mold.
that you can
move.
mold into whatever weird cotton covered vag you're dreaming of.
Hang on.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was probably 2 years of doing that before I decided to do it the standard way. And I've never gone back. Also because
okay.
every now and then you realize you flip your pillow in the middle of the night and you're sleeping where your balls were.
You wake up with a bunch of scratches on the left side of your face.
There's just that unmistakable aroma of early childhood ejaculate. That
Oh my god. I can't believe we're going
there
here.
ain't enough fucking
All right.
snuggle fabric
So-
softener to take that shit.
Here you go. Here you go. See, I knew I could come up with something.
Nice. All right, good.
Because, all right. So, yeah, I was a kid. I didn't know what the fuck was going on. I was doing all kinds of things, and so I took a face cloth. that
Dry or
it was-
wet?
No, it was wet with hot water, and I was washing up. And then all of a sudden, I just got down there. And I'm like, hey, wait a minute. Like one of those things.
Oh,
and then next thing I know, I was like, oh, and I just kept it like running warm water on it and going. And then, but the worst part was when I was done, I thought I melted the skin because.
Sorry, I was muted. What I said was,
Yeah.
Tell me you thought it was candle wax. Tell me you thought it was candle wax.
I thought that I was going at it so hard that I melted my skin. I was like, what? I didn't know what to do. Like, I thought I was going to have to tell my mom. It was like, I thought I was melting my skin. And it was just jizz. That was all. Yeah. I didn't know.
Oh my god! I remember you guys are gonna hate me. I don't care. I remember the first time I actually was able to get myself to that point where I was able to jizz, and I remember thinking like, yes, I can finally
like
do it. This.
See, I didn't even know about that. Like,
No.
I thought that was just something that happened. Like, I thought you could control that. Like, I'll do it now.
No, like
I didn't know.
I specifically remember like certain girls and people in school talking about it, but
Yeah.
never really knowing what it was until it happened. I was like, oh, this is what it talked about. And then my brain went to, I can do this. I'm going to give it to them. And I never did.
Yeah.
like you just decide, okay, now's the moment, release.
Yes. Oh,
Yep.
they want this. I have it. I'll give it to them. I never gave it to them.
I thought you decided when you were going to do that.
Oh.
I kind of did too. One of my biggest fantasies, there was
Like,
one
like
girl
I'll
who
do
I
it
will
now.
not-
Like, here we go.
Yeah, there was one of my fantasies was, and this is a deep, dark one, but we're in my childhood bedroom, and we see that her parents have pulled in the driveway. That shows you how young I was.
He's already fantasizing about being caught and doing it.
No, not even being caught. It's just
He's so
there
mature.
was an urgency. There was urgency, but yet none of us were driving.
Yeah.
Like her parents were coming to get her. And yet in my fantasy, I believe that we could nut 3 times before that it was time for her to run down the stairs. So it was basically wait, and wait, one more for good measure. All right, get that. And that one carried me for like 6 months.
Oh, that's awesome. See,
That was a go-to.
I also used to think that people having sex was like straight up and down, because everything I ever saw, like, no, everything I ever saw as a kid, I used to like try to sneak and see like scenes of movies that your parents were watching or something.
Yeah.
Anytime there was a sex scene, there was a man on top of a woman, and they were going up and down. So I thought it was a vertical.
You thought it was like
action.
below her belly button, straight in. Like,
Right. I thought it was like fucking plunging a toilet. Like that's what I thought was happening.
It all comes back to that. We're talking about a 13-year-old's masturbatory stories, and you're like, oh, yeah, just like, let's just use shit as example.
I remember the first time when I lost my virginity and I finally, like, got it in. I was so shocked that I was in that I didn't hump for like a minute.
You just like held on.
Yeah. I was like, and in my head, I'm like, I'm in. This is happening. Like,
don't ruin it, stupid.
Yeah, don't. And then finally, she was like, yeah, like she's. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, oh yeah, done. Yeah.
Yeah, well, at least you had wedding cake to look forward to right after.
Yeah. Right?
And that was the last time I got laid.
Yep.
What's with all this more than one shit?
Yeah, that's awesome. Oh my god.
All right, Dave, you have any more?
Oh, it's back
do.
to me already?
Well, it's not back to you. I just figured let's blow through yours because we're all obviously going to add to it.
The only other one I that comes to mind is this is something that happened actually fairly recently. It was probably about maybe 5 years ago, right around, give or take a year or two. My wife and I went to a bar right down the street, not far from here, and we were sitting at the bar just having drinks, having food. Like, we used to go here a lot before we had the baby and just like drink booze, have a good time. And the hockey playoffs were on, the Bruins were on, and we had a bad thunderstorm and the cable went out in the bar. So there was nothing else on the TV. So people just sitting around drinking, and we start bullshitting with this guy next to us. And we're talking back and forth, and he's got a bunch of tattoos on his arm of like comic book characters. He's got like Spider-Man and Wolverine, all these folks, like original looking comic characters.
Yeah.
So we start talking about this stuff, and it was about the time that the Marvel movies were getting very popular. So we start bullshitting with this guy, and he looks at us, Rand and I, and he's like, "Do you guys smoke?" And I was like, "Well, no, not really." And she's like, "Yeah, I have." He's like, "Do you want to come back to my place?" And before we could respond, Rayanne is thinking like, all right, this is a little weird. We can maybe hang out with this guy. And before I was loaded, I was like, sure, let's go.
Seems harmless.
Right. This is every movie I've ever seen in high school about what not to do.
Yep.
And so he's like, all right, well, why don't you guys follow me? So we get in the car, loaded, follow him to his house on the other side of East Providence. And we get there. It's a nice house in the middle of a neighborhood. And he's like, hey, you got to be quiet. My in-laws are in town visiting. So we sneak through this guy's – we sneak through his front door, his living room, kitchen, and go down to the basement. In his house, the basement is a field stone basement with exposed walls. So this is where Buffalo Bill lives.
Yeah.
We come down the stairs – and as you come off the stairs, there's a life-size Spider-Man statue standing there, ready to pounce. And he's got his little man cave. Yeah, he's got his little man cave set up. And he's like, do you guys want to smoke some weed? And I was like, yeah, I want to smoke some weed. I've never smoked weed before in my life.
Nice.
And Rayanne's like, yeah, okay, because she actually has. So he pulls out his bong, he lights it up, he takes a few puffs, gives it to Rayanne. They give it to me, and they watch me fumble with the thing like I've never used it before in my life because I haven't.
Yeah.
And he looks at her with this disgustingly disdain, expression. He's like, "I'll pack him a bowl."
Yeah.
So he pulls out his 7th grade ceramic bowl and packs it. And lights it and hands it to me. I still can't get it to work. And he's like, do you want some? To my wife. And by the time he looks back, I'm starting to pass out. So the last thing I remember is this guy saying, do you want to watch Predator?
I feel like you could have led with that line. It's the same
Your first
story.
reaction was, yeah.
Well, my response is, why the fuck would I not want to watch Predator?
Yeah.
It's the greatest action movie of all time. So he puts it on. We haven't even seen Carl Weathers' name on the screen. I'm passed out drooling on this man's man couch in his basement with his family upstairs.
With this rabbit for a pillow.
Now, my wife realizes I'm fucked up. I'm out. And she's like, I got to get him out of here. But we're stuck in the basement with Jim Bob, wherever the fuck his name was, wanting to smoke weed and watch Predator to get away from his family upstairs. So she's like, he's fucked up. I got to get him out of here. My next recollection is I'm on the front steps of this guy's house in the middle of a thunderstorm, enjoying the weather. She's like, you need to get your shit together. I don't know where we are. And I'm like, get me in the car. We'll get home. She gets me to the car, passenger seat. She gets in the driver's seat. And somehow I'm able to direct her back to our house flawlessly. And she, after drinking and smoking, is able to drive us there flawlessly. We pull up to the house as if we were valeted. We park nice and softly. We get out of the car, and that's when the wheels really fall off. So at this point, she's like, I can't believe I make it home. And I'm like, I'm going to go sit on the neighbor's steps and enjoy the rain. So I proceeded to walk next door, take my shirt off, sit on my neighbor's concrete steps, and enjoy the rain like I just escaped Shawshank Prison.
You forgot
And
to
that was
mention
my
lowering
first time
the property
smoking
value.
weed.
That was,
God damn, kid.
Yeah.
that's pretty
All from a
good.
sushi bar?
Yeah. And we still go there. It's really good. But
God
that's a story that Rand will sometimes tell her friends, like, oh, here's what Dave did once. And I'm like, will you stop it? Just stop it. But since we're
That's a
sharing
great
stories
story.
that are kind of embarrassing, I
want to hear her
there it is.
version of it.
Oh, you know what? Maybe sometime this week I'll have her sit down with me. We'll record it and we can line them up.
I think that'd be
Because
great.
it's
I wanna
probably
hear
way better.
the story
Oh, yeah.
at the beginning.
It was
sounds
good.
A
You
lot,
told
a
it
lot
great.
more rapey though. The beginning of the
But-
story
Yeah.
is way more rapey, and I'm like, wow. You mentioned like mistakes you made in high school, and I'm like, Blood on the Highway is probably also the name of your first sex tape.
But like, we actually bullshitted with this guy for at least an hour or so. Just like, he just happened to be the guy sitting next to us at the bar.
And then he
Yep.
decided to smoke you up while his in-laws were upstairs. And by the way, those weren't his in-laws.
No.
Those were his parents.
Oh yeah, probably.
Yeah,
no,
he
it was.
lived
yeah.
there.
Yeah, I don't know.
He
It was a
lived there.
nice house, man. I don't know.
He
Now
had a
that you
nice
mention
couch
it,
in the basement. That was his room.
That was his
Yep.
parents upstairs. He had a full-size Spider-Man downstairs. That was his bedroom.
Yeah, that was his
I
bed.
hadn't
That was
even
his
considered that
apartment.
till right now.
Yeah.
I think
can't wait to
if
tell
you had
that to
stayed
Rayanne.
conscious, there would have been some raping going on.
Yeah.
It's possible, yeah.
And
Yeah.
What's more concerning is you passed out and he made no advances towards Ray.
That's
No.
what I was thinking.
So you were the target.
He was trying to
whole time.
Dave. He was like, "Shit." He was trying to get her to smoke weed so she would pass out, so he could fuck her pass
That
out.
was it. That guy went out for sake and a spicy tuna Dave roll. Very
Yeah,
quick.
exactly. Yep. Because at
No doubt.
that point, I would have just been like, "Look at your piece of shit, fucking boyfriend." All hammered and fucked up.
You
Why
wanna
don't you come
fuck
and
him
hang
with
out with
me?
a real man? Yeah.
Oh my god.
Oh shit.
All right,
Yeah.
well, let me lead off with one that I'm still embarrassed about to this day, and
All
not
right.
because that made me look. Well, it wasn't like an accident.
Okay.
It was something I did that was so consciously dumb that I'll never live it down. And even though everybody involved on the other side of the net, and I'll explain that in a minute, is totally forgiven me, and we're all friends today. This is something I'll take to the grave with me. My high school used to run these open volleyball nights. Like if
Okay.
you can get a team of 5 people, sign
Yeah.
up and we'll play like a round robin tournament. It was something to do on a Wednesday night that didn't involve a movie or whatever. You know,
it was
a
like
good
it
time.
was kind of like pick up basketball or something.
More or less, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was
All right.
basically,
Yeah.
but our school sponsored it, and so I had a good team of 5. We were playing the women's, basically the starting 5 of the girls' high school volleyball team,
Nice.
and they were beating the shit out of us, and rightfully so.
And you
Right,
loved
yeah.
every minute of it.
Well, no, I didn't, and that's where I went wrong.
Oh.
I was with a bunch of guys. Now, we were all friends and everything, but I had this weird competitive streak that thankfully has died down a lot. You know, I still get competitive. Like, you know, Dave, you're very competitive. I get it. And I'm kind of with you on that. But I started dropping C-bombs like it was going out of sight.
Oh, really?
Every time. I mean, these are girls. Some of them went on to college to play volleyball.
Did you build up to that?
Yeah,
they
didn't just come. No, I didn't come out with a bucket of rage. We lost 2 or 3 consecutive points right away.
Okay.
And the girls are putting spin on the serves and they're doing jump serves, and you know, I'm still serving underhand because I don't know how to coordinate it. You know? But yet I had this weird sense of machismo that I'm like, but we're not going to lose to girls.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
And it was the dumbest fucking thing I've ever done. I haven't stopped apologizing for this since the advent of Facebook. I mean, there were 3 women in particular that I owed sincere apologies because I'm like, we're not going to lose to these bitches. We're not going to lose to these cunts. How could, what's wrong? Come on, guys. And then finally, one of the girls, they had all done a good job ignoring me, figuring I was being competitive and stupid. And then finally, I'll never forget her, Trish, God bless you. She turned around and she goes, "What are we, bitches or cunts?" And she looks at me just like that.
Wow.
And she fucking buried me. Then, after we lost, I went to shake hands and I got 5 refusals.
Nice.
And I deserved every minute.
Deservedly so. Yeah.
And then I went and sat down. We were eliminated from the tournament. It was double elimination. We had already gotten pounded by somebody else. Don't save that audio.
Oh my God.
It's amazing how 3 different people can have the same thought at the same time.
But anyway,
I was like, oh, hold on.
My show changed the subject. My show changed the subject.
Yeah.
All right, back to what we were talking about. I sat down on the bleachers, and my head was down because I knew what was up. My teammates weren't talking to me.
Yep.
4 of the 5 girls weren't talking to me. Finally, one came over, Christy, and she sat down and she said, "I know you're just being competitive, but did you really think you were going to beat a bunch of competitive volleyball players?" And I have never consciously made such a sexist remark, gesture, or thought ever since. So we all have those learning moments. Kevin Arnold went through a shit ton of them. We called it the Wonder Years. Yep. This was the blunder years. And I owe them all one last apology. First time on the air. Unbelievably bad moment in my life. And I own it. Yep. But good God, Magnum. I really only had one other embarrassing story. I may have told it on here, but it bears repeating. College was fun. Me and Dave have really talked about that a lot. Craig has listened and gotten jealous as a result of it. We had a good time in college.
Yeah, Craig deciding to dive face first into actual carpet was better than what we talked about.
That's it. That's it. You know, the deep pockets or deep pile. I don't know. Make your choice. But anyway, that said, when I moved in, they gave us almost a week to get assimilated. There were 4 days before we started class.
No shit.
They wanted you to get to know the campus. They wanted you to take advantage of like we did orientation earlier in the summer.
Well, that's what I was going to ask.
Yeah, they were like, we have to be gentle with these pussies.
Yeah, we did. I'm sorry, I can't hear you over your lack of education.
Yeah.
But so we had 4 days to mill around, you know, right outside DC. We had a lot of things to do. So we drank like stupid amounts of beer, and we all got to know each other very well. But I decided the night before class this would be a great time to go out and do my first ever College Park, Maryland bar.
Okay.
And they were doing 10-cent pitchers with a $5 cover.
Oof.
You do the math.
Oof.
Okay. Even if you leave $1 on the bar,
you
know, you're tipping a tremendous amount. Based on the 10-cent pitchers. The beer in the lighting in there almost looked green.
Did you you just drink out of the pitcher?
Well, some people did. I did, and I chose to walk around because I liked filling up girls' cups, and just kept topping them off, and that was a good play. It was a good,
you know, Well, go ahead. Finish your story.
But I got to tell you, it was dumb the night before my first ever class. Now, most classes were lecture halls, giant lecture halls with 200 people. If you were nodding off in the back of the room, nobody gave a fuck. There was no attendance or whatever.
And no one noticed.
Right. You can do whatever you want. Snore. There's like 10 other people doing the exact same thing.
Astronomy 101 was 200 other freshmen and me.
Exactly.
Yep.
My first college class was a 10-person roundtable discussion course for my honors program.
Oh, come on. You stupid.
And it was 2 hours long.
Oh.
It was once a week, 2 hours, and I couldn't hang.
That's awful.
12 noon. It started at noon, and I couldn't hang. I got there. I reeked of the night before. I reeked of bad decisions.
So you made it. You didn't just skip it. You made it to the class.
No, I made it to class. But again, I'm sitting in a roundtable discussion with a bunch of overly enthusiastic seniors running the class.
Oh, my God.
And they want participation and they want enthusiasm. And I'm just like, fuck you. I need my bed. And I fell asleep in the middle of class.
Oh.
Like head down.
Are you a loud sleeper?
Well, I don't know. I've never been awake while I've been asleep.
That's fair. I deserve that answer. Yeah, okay.
But based on my
I hate myself for asking that.
Yeah, based on my facial physics, I'm going to say no. And the fact that Melissa always wakes up grouchy.
No obstructed airflow. Yeah.
I'm guarantee you that there's like apnea squared going on in my face right now.
Melissa has sleep apnea because you're breathing in all the air next to her.
That's it. That's it. Brad, we don't know why you're choking. Your blood oxygen is alarmingly high.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I fall asleep in this class, and from what I can gather, from a girl I eventually hooked up with, but she pulled me aside and she's like, you've been sleeping for like 15 minutes of a 2-hour class.
Ooh.
And I said, okay, that's fine. And then I fell asleep again. And at that point, the teachers had it. So they kind of jostled my shoulder. And I sat up and I said, and these words will never leave my mind, I'm sorry, I'm having an allergic reaction to liquid dessert. It's been 26 years. I have no idea what these words mean. There was no dream involved. I didn't fantasize about Dairy Queen. I had an allergic reaction to liquid dessert.
Liquid dessert. What technically you did.
I guess I did. And this was the impression I made that I lived down roughly towards the end of the semester.
Oh, my God.
I ended up having a great time in that class, but could you imagine?
That's awesome.
Oh, and this was like an honors program.
Yeah.
This was like a close-knit group of people on a very large campus. And everybody saw me do this, and I'm like, I'm going to fail out of college. This is how it ends for me. So I slowed down the drinking. I slowed down the drinking for like 2 weeks, and then I learned how to balance. So, not everything is learned from books in college, and that was one of them. But anyway, let's move along here.
God.
Yeah.
I want to give you guys an opportunity now. Let's move on. I want you to fix your memories. I want you, like, we've already talked about things that went wrong with reality TV, but let's face it, reality TV is not defining any moments in our lives. If you can go and rewrite, change, revise, whatever, 3 major entertainment mistakes, music, movies, TV, books, whatever you want, what would they be and why? Ooh. And I want Dave to lead this.
This one that jumps right out to me is casting Jennifer Lawrence as Mystique in the X-Men movies was the worst fucking thing that's ever happened.
Tell me why. She's kind of hot.
She's a bucket of fucking vanilla nothing. She's awful.
I said kinda.
No, kinda doesn't. I won't even give her kinda credit. I've had farts that have more personality than she does.
Well, there's no doubt. There's no doubt.
Yeah.
She's awful. She's as intriguing as the wall behind Craig's dartboard.
You know, it's funny as an actor, like in her roles, yes. As an actual person, she's actually pretty funny.
Look, I will give you that.
She's a real person.
The few times I've seen her act as a normal human being, I'll give her that. She's got a sense of humor, this and that. I get that.
Yeah.
As an actress or actor, whatever the fuck you want to call her, she's awful.
She's very still and stagnant.
There is nothing overtly attractive about her. Like, she's a good-looking chick, but there's nothing that stands out about her. I don't know. She's like a lukewarm can of fucking Bud Light. Like, there's nothing attractive about her to me. I'll drink it if I have to.
There's no other kind of can of Bud Light.
That's true.
No, she's the Nicolas Cage of women.
Yeah, but I'd fuck Nicolas Cage.
Actors. Yeah, no, I'm saying she plays the same character just like Nicolas Cage does.
Yes.
It's the same character.
You know what? We say this about more and more actors every week. I'm sorry for interrupting you, but I haven't done it yet tonight, so let's go with it.
No, you're right. It's true.
But I think more and more actors are doing that. Like, let's face it. What is Chris Pratt going to do in his next non-Marvel movie that is any different than Star-Lord?
Nothing.
He's not.
I don't know.
He's not, because he's playing Chris Pratt, and they designed that character around him.
They did.
I'm sorry.
But look at it. His character in Jurassic World is totally different from Parks and Recreation.
Yeah. So
is it?
You know what I mean?
I don't think it is.
But
he's still a wise ass.
No, but I know it's like he had a serious day.
Yeah. Listen, here's my thing though. Like with Jennifer Lawrence in this role in the X-Men movies. She plays a certain character. Like, she's got that very emotionless look to her. She's very vanilla looking, but she's got this little bit of intrigue because, like Brad said, she's attractive. She's a good looking girl, but she's not like she doesn't grab your attention in a crowd.
Yeah.
My problem with her being cast as Mystique, there's two things there. One, she followed up Rebecca Romaine, who she's never going to top.
Yeah. Yep.
Second,
agreed.
They rewrote this character of Mystique to fit her personality and make her a likable person, when Mystique in the comics was a total fucking villain and awful person.
Yeah. Like worse than Magneto and every other villain.
Right.
She was like, fuck all these mutants.
Right. She's like, fuck you, I'll kill. I don't care who you. Like, that was this. So it was twofold for me. It was this particular casting choice. They tried to make her. They picked her, which was wrong to begin with. Then they tried to rewrite the character to make her likable because it was Jennifer Lawrence, and it was awful.
Yep.
So that to me ruined all of the new X-Men movies. Like, I don't even want to watch them because she was in it. It was
also they're terrible.
Well, not just that. They were all bad in their own beautiful ways. But
they were
but I would watch them. Her being in them made me not want to watch them.
But what kills me is that you're getting angry at Jennifer Lawrence for playing a role previously commanded by Rebecca Romaine O'Connell.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, but she did. She played that part well because she really didn't.
What did she do? She sat there and got CGI'd blue. Fuck her.
But silent and pulled it off like Mystique.
First of all, Rebecca.
So Helen Keller could have nailed it.
Rebecca Romaine is leaps and bounds attractive beyond Jennifer Lawrence. Second of all, the character she played was still more true to the comic version of the character than what Jennifer Lawrence played.
I would have gotten 10 times as much head from Jennifer Lawrence and been happier about it.
Listen, I would
Rebecca Romaine O'Connell. Anybody that fucks Jerry O'Connell and John Stamos. Her IMDb page should just say I fucked the 80s.
Thank you. I was going to say I would take John Stamos' leftovers over Jennifer Lawrence's freshness.
Oh, yeah. Grab that rabbit fur and beat off to a Beach Boys video, you son of a bitch.
Hey, I'll take a hard bristle brush over a wet spaghetti any day.
All right. Well, you know what? At least I appreciate your passion. I'll give you that.
Yep.
Go on. Next.
I would take back every single Grammy ever given to Beyonce.
No argument.
Yep. None.
And I would
talent, fat ass hack.
I would erase the Twilight movies from history.
Yes. Yeah, okay.
Now
I've never seen one. I don't know if they're bad or not.
They're awful. And there's an actor, an actress, actor or actress, whatever you want to call it, she's the worst.
Listen, I will.
You couldn't possibly be more stiff, unemotional, and fucking shitty.
I agree. But that's not why I chose it. We've talked about bad actors and actresses and things. I would like to get rid of Twilight for a different reason, because I'm a big fan of original horror movies.
Vampire
This
horror
movie
movies, yes.
ruined the genre. Because of this movie, we got all sorts of bad knockoffs and like 90210 versions of vampires that drive me fucking insane.
Yes.
So it was.
Dave, can I ask you a question though?
Yes.
Are you a little bit surprised, like I am, that Craig didn't choose Robert Pattinson to also play him in his movie? I'm just a little bit shocked.
It would have been bad.
Yeah, it would have been awful.
Yeah, he also has hair.
Yeah.
I have hair.
That's what I mean. You guys have that in common.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh,
I believe he's worn a hat.
We both breathe.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So, like, I thought about this for a while. Like, this one really burned in my brain because I was like, there are movies that I would love. I get aggravated when I see them. Like, what the fuck? But it doesn't impact my enjoyment of other things. This series ruined vampires and monster movies for me for a long time.
The only good thing about that was when after the first one came out, 30 Days a Night came out.
One of the best vampire
time.
movies that came out in 20 years.
It kind of like, ooh, vampires are still cool. Hold on.
Like, those were the scariest vampires I've ever seen.
Yeah, that was some serious vampire shit. Because they weren't like, oh, let me suck on your neck and make you fall in love with me. They're like, no, I'm gonna fucking eat your face.
I glitter in the sun like a fucking troll dangling from a disco ball. Like, fuck off.
Yeah,
I haven't seen him, but I want to watch this Eat Your Face one.
Oh, 30 Days a Night is fantastic.
Never seen it.
No, you'd probably like it. It's based on a graphic novel. It's really good.
Yeah, it is. It's a graphic novel. It's really good. I mean, the production value is decent. It's not crazy, but the makeup, they did it right.
They are
had.
terrifying. They're vampires that scare you.
Does it feature Rebecca Romaine O'Connell?
Listen, don't fuck with me, because I know plenty of women that would fuck Rebecca Romaine O'Connell, Stamos, whatever the fuck she was called.
Yeah.
Yeah, most of those same people would fuck Jerry O'Connell,
yeah.
so I'm not too worried.
Listen, let's be honest. I'd fuck Jerry O'Connell right now if it got me a paycheck for $35.
You'd fuck Jerry O'Connell and Stand By Me just because he had all the Twinkies.
That's also fair. At this point, I'd fuck Jerry O'Connell to shake Will Wheaton's hand. Like,
bravo, sir.
Let's meet him in the Reddit room.
All right, we're getting lengthy
fantastic.
tonight, so I'm going to whip through mine. Metallica's Load, Reload, and Saint Anger.
Ooh, okay.
Okay, the first two were good rock albums. Actually, the older they get, the more I appreciate them. They just weren't Metallica.
They weren't Metallica. No. They were good albums.
No, not at all.
They were good, solid, bluesy, hard rock albums, and I liked them.
They're not metal albums.
They weren't Metallica, and we probably should have seen it coming with the Black Album, but we didn't, because it didn't have that edgy, even Sad But True. Dun, 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 dun. That's still metal. But Load and Reload were just rock albums. And then what happened on Saint Anger, I think they thought by stripping down to the most bare bones production, I think they thought they were kicking our ass. I think they thought they were getting back to their roots. And in reality, what they were doing was they lost the plot.
They lost it, yeah.
It took 8 more years for them to come out with an album worth it, and Death Magnetic was great.
Death Magnetic was fantastic.
And the new one's great. I love the new one. So I think they found their way back. But honestly, I really believe they thought Saint Anger being so stripped down and raw, they thought they were writing another Kill 'Em All.
They're like, oh, we're going to film the video in a prison.
Well, that's what.
Well, forget the video. I'm just talking music.
No, but I'm saying, but that's what I mean. They thought it was like, oh, this is going to be hardcore.
Well, that's the thing. They were like, we'll go back to the garage where we started. And that's what they made it sound like, and it just it didn't have that vibe or that feel.
It didn't work. And you know what? Another thing, picking on Load, Reload, and Saint Anger is kind of an obvious thing. It's not even novel. picking on Godfather 3 is the same way. If you actually watch Godfather 3, it's not a bad movie,
No,
but it could have been so much better.
way better.
One of them, get in your contract negotiations with Robert Duvall and bring him the fuck back.
Yeah,
Bringing in that leather, what's his nuts? I don't even remember his fucking name.
yeah.
Leather, what's his name?
I fucking hated
The
him.
guy sold cruises and vacation packages to senior citizens for most
Yeah,
of his
I
acting
fucking-
career. Fuck that guy.
I
He looks like
fucking
he's made of
hated that.
Naugahyde. Didn't belong there. And then also bringing Andy Garcia in there. If your last name is Garcia, you don't belong in an Italian mob movie.
Yeah.
Period. The end. And no more discussion. And Sofia Coppola, you just don't do it. She couldn't act, much less feign a death.
Yep.
So it was a climate. But actually, if you watch that movie and you watch the way they interact with the Catholic Church, deep movie. A lot of shit going on there.
The storyline, like the storyline is fantastic. The acting, especially towards, it's funny. It was almost like halfway through the movie, they're like, "Yeah, whatever, cut." Just, because it starts off good, and then at the end they're like, "Yeah, whatever, that was cool."
Well, yeah, I mean, that movie was horrendously over budget. The movie was supposed to come out in 1984,
yeah,
and it came out in 1989.
yeah.
Like
They thought they were gonna fucking blow the ceiling off. It's like, no, you weren't. You had Godfather, which is fantastic. Godfather 2 was just fucking ridiculously good.
I think for Godfather 2 is a perfect movie.
It's a perfect movie. And then
pacing, everything. It's perfect.
and you're gonna try to top those two things with the third one with Andy Garcia and and some other.
Well, I think the problem with that is I think they were trying to possibly extend the series. If people had reacted well to Andy Garcia in that role,
it would have been a James Bond of mob movies.
yeah, I think they would have maybe built off of it, had the
No, I know
children
what
do
you're
something.
saying.
Yeah, it would have kept going.
And
yep.
yeah, but there was no series to happen here. Also,
No.
something happened to Al Pacino. You watch Al Pacino in the original Godfather movies, and then you watch and in Dog Day Afternoon, and Serpico, and you watch all those movies. He was
A
young,
completely different person.
he was a completely different person. The instant he got plastic surgery and poofed up his hair, and suddenly everything he said just got louder.
Yeah.
When he started doing that, and yet he was still supposed to be Michael Corleone.
Yeah.
Michael Corleone was a subdued guy.
Subdued, quiet.
Yeah.
Only yelled when he was fucking angry.
And when no
when
one
he had
else
to beat
was
his
around
wife.
to
and,
see
and
it.
when no one else was, and it was controlled. Exactly, it was a controlled anger.
Exactly.
He lashed out at his like immediate family or close confidants
Yep.
when there was no other witnesses.
And it would be a lash out and an immediate drop.
Yeah.
Yep.
An immediate drop.
Controlled, measured.
Yeah.
None of that is modern day Pacino.
No.
You watch
No.
Al Pacino and Donnie Brasco, or what was that movie where he played the devil? I forget what the name of it.
Devil's Advocate.
Yeah.
Devil's Advocate.
Yeah,
There it is. I had half the answer, but it was literally Pacino being larger than life.
he was a caricature.
You know,
Yeah.
and he did it in Ocean's 13. He did it.
She's got
every
a
movie.
great ass. And you've got your head
Yeah,
all the way up
yeah.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm fucking Beverly D'Angelo.
Yeah. But that's
just stupid. Just stupid.
It ruined it. It ruined it because his part, especially as Michael Corleone in the original Godfather, you could see it towards the end of the movie. You could see it leading up to his eventual, because of his subdued
Right.
and controlled
was seething
reactions
anger.
to everything.
It was subversive.
Yeah, that's why he became a leader of the family, was because he was so the way he was. I don't know, it was fucked up.
But watching modern day Pacino, and it's funny, I'm saying modern day for a movie that's 32 years old.
But
But modern
it's
day-
very different. Yeah.
But he's a different person, much less a different actor. He's a different person. He's
Fucking
very
look at-
demonstrative, and it's just annoying.
Look at Scarface, how different Scarface was from what he was doing prior to that.
Well,
but even that,
I think Scarface
controlled that.
That was designed to be a character like that. But I
Yeah,
think
but-
what
but-
happened is
and-
after
but he played-
Scarface,
and he played it perfectly.
but after Scarface, he became that person in every movie he played.
That's what I mean. After that, he's become so he's become the Nicolas Cage of Al Pacino
Yeah.
after that point. Because to that point, he was perfect.
Right. Like when people can say, "Hey, show me your Pacino," you're a little, you know what I mean? Like you've reached that level of ridiculousness.
Yeah. Yeah, because if somebody says, "Do your Pacino," you're gonna go, "She's got a great ass," you know,
Hey,
like it's something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, you're not gonna go. That's my family. I'm not gonna, you're not gonna do that.
I'll go to the restaurant. I'll take the gun.
That's my family. That's not
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
You know.
All right. I feel like we're running a little long here, so I'm just going to say one thing, and I'm going to leave it without a comment. And if you know me, you know why this bothered me. I'm going to say most of the final season of Breaking Bad, except for the first episode and the finale.
All right.
And
Okay.
that's another episode.
Entirely
We
other
could talk
episode.
about extra final seasons forever. But I do want to. I know Craig had one in his outline, so I cheated a little bit. I looked ahead. Craig,
more.
what are the things, the entertainment mistakes you're going to erase and fix?
My first one was The Sopranos final,
What would you change?
and not the actual end, and not because I enjoyed it when it ended. I was like, damn. Like I stood back and I sat, and the best part about that was I went a good week of going, what happened?
It made made it relevant beyond when it ended.
Beyond when and that for me made it perfect.
It made it perfect
Right.
now.
Now,
Like when you think back, like,
But-
like I thought about that for weeks or days or whatever. Like I tried to figure out what happened.
yeah.
Okay.
But what ruined it for me was the people that bitched and said that was lazy and you could do that to any show, and I get that. Yes, you could. But that show was so well done from beginning to end. Yeah, they had a season in between that was
Yeah, but nothing
but-
about that show was shortcuts or short-sighted.
None.
Everything was
Zero.
planned out.
I'll
It was so-
disagree. And you're
Of course
talking
you
to a
will.
guy who was but I got points here.
Well,
Yep.
So I got 2 fingers up now, and
Go
then
ahead.
one for later. Go ahead. I think, in honesty, they could have ended that in season 5.
I can
They
agree
could have
with
done
that.
Yeah.
two
No.
more episodes after he killed Steve Buscemi,
Yes.
where that racked him. I literally killed my own family. His whole thing, whether it was his immediate family or his mob family, it was always about family with Tony. And when
Yeah.
he finally made the decision to take out one of his own family, that was literally the moment where he could have said, I'm done.
That could have been the end.
And you could have written a better ending for Tony Soprano. Instead, what happened was they went into season 6. They introduced so many new characters.
Well,
Guys,
that's what I didn't like with season 6. They introduced all these new people.
never mind the fist fight with Bobby Bacala and all that. That was actually a good episode.
That's actually really funny. When he gets up and he's got the Lego on his cheek,
Oh yeah.
that fucking made me laugh like.
And
a
then he
bastard.
punishes Bobby by making him kill his first person.
yeah.
yeah,
Makes him drive to Canada to kill his first ever person. He's never
Yeah.
killed anybody. Never popped
Yeah.
his cherry. And all of a sudden, he said, "You know what? You beat me up, but I still own you."
I'm the boss. Yeah,
Yeah, and I think that was a good character development thing, but you could have squeezed that into season 5.
yeah.
I don't see why at the end, when they're all in hiding because the war is happening with New York, I don't see why they all have to be hanging out. And all of a sudden, we've got a guy named Walden. We got a couple other fat Goombas we've never met before.
Yeah.
And Tony's talking to them like they've been family forever. We've never met these
Yeah.
people.
The thing is, they did that after like season 2. They did start to introduce people though that you were like, who's that guy? Why
Well,
is
it's
he- why is he-
gradual, though. But
you
to
know-
throw all these new names into season 6?
But
Yeah.
yeah, the
No,
thing was
no, I
like you
know.
threw them all in the season 6, and then there was no
Yeah.
continuation. It didn't like you didn't
Yes,
see him
right,
again.
that-
That was the thing.
Like, who's
That's
Walden? The
the
guy
key.
was actually pretty funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, I mean, his whole thing was about a cat that he thought was Christopher.
Yep.
Yeah. Like, why do I care about you at this point? I know the show's ending. It's all over the internet. We know
Yeah.
this is it. Why on earth are you introducing new characters in the 11th hour? Doesn't make sense. I'd rather focus on how Paulie Walnuts is dealing with this.
Right.
And how maybe repercussions from things they did earlier.
And
none of that happened.
When they did that final scene, they could have, it was either Tony stepped away and the family was good, or it was over. And he took one to the dome, which that's what I'm convinced happened. You know what I mean?
The Mandela effect happens on this too. Everybody and their mother remembers when Bobby Bacala in the rowboat on that episode we just talked about said, "I don't think you even see it coming. I think it just goes to black." Then we find out in the replays that he never actually said that. But how do so many people remember hearing that line? I think they did that on purpose. I think they did air that line, and then in all the replays since, removed it. I think David Chase wanted to do something to fuck with people.
I remember that.
So do I. Yeah. I remember watching it on a PC because I had to stream it.
You don't
illegally.
see it coming.
Yeah,
but everything just goes black.
Yeah.
He still says you don't see it coming, but what you don't hear is everything just goes to black. And everybody and their mother was like, "Oh my God, that's so tremendous!" And it was foreshadowing. And then they go back and replay it on the DVDs, and it's gone.
It's gone. Yeah.
And they made us believe this was the Mandela effect, and it's not. I think he put it
There's
in.
No
there.
such thing. Yeah.
Who's Mandela?
Yep. Yep.
Sounds like a made-up name.
He died 20 years ago.
Yeah.
What is that,
He
Irish?
sells wind chimes.
Mandela, that's a Polish name, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, I mean,
it's a new tight end for the Patriots.
I would change that so much is like working that final season into something different. I enjoyed it still. Love the show.
Oh, it's still one of the best shows.
Yeah. But I think it could have avoided a lot of the bullshit.
Sure.
Movie wise, Avatar.
All right.
Now I would change that by taking that script, tearing it into little shreds, throwing it into a garbage pail, and then fucking taking all the film that they took, recorded, rubbed a magnet over it, and fucking just let it go away.
I agree with you. I've never seen this movie, but it absolutely
sucks.
I hate anybody who likes this movie because everybody that I said, "What's it about?" Nobody's ever actually told me a plot. They go, "It's a very green movie."
It's about Native Americans fighting white men on a distant planet.
Yeah, but it's not.
It's not.
At the same. It's so stupid. It is such a bad plot line. Like, you can see the plot line from the first 3 minutes of the movie. You see the plot in the end from the first fucking 30 seconds of the movie.
Here are the bad guys. Here are the good guys. Here's how it's going to end. But watch for another 2.5 hours.
But watch it for 2.5 hours because we're going to put pretty plants in front of you and floating fucking rocks.
Yeah.
Fucking dumb.
I
Fuck
actually
that guy
sat
in the
with somebody
wheelchair.
at the Kinsman who said, "You have to see it. It's so green." These are words spoken by a human being at the time, 2016, that you were trying to convince me to watch this movie without telling me one plot point. I had no idea what this movie's about. I still don't know what this is about, even after you two tried to tell me.
Dicks, and they're making a fucking another dick sucking.
They're making 3 more of them.
Yeah.
3.
Yep.
Oh, it's just like Back to the Future where they're doing bundles now.
Yeah. No, they're making 3 more of them.
3 more.
Because fucking James Cameron's like, my brilliant script of shit.
And
it's a crap.
This was
it's written. That's the thing is the movie visually? It's fucking.
Well, that's
gorgeous.
what I was gonna say. It was filmed. It was the first 4K or 3D movie that was filmed on a big budget.
And beautifully done.
Oh, if you,
I will not refute
you can
that.
watch this movie on
done.
mute and appreciate the cinematography behind what they shot.
Yeah.
But once you listen to it and follow the story, it's garbage.
It's trash. It's a heap
the
of
man's
trash.
biggest success, in my opinion, was making a movie about a boat sinking.
Yeah,
an ending we already knew.
The story was already written.
Right. He just had.
And he created a love story around people dying. Novel idea.
Novel idea. Yeah. Yep.
I believe they did that in the Towering Inferno, or as some of us call it, Love Boat
But
in a burning building.
but we're dragging on, so I will Avatar piece of shit.
Piece of shit.
Okay.
Last one.
Star Wars prequels.
Okay.
All three of them.
Episodes 1 through 3.
Yes.
Okay.
No, would you
Wrap
change all
those
of them
up.
or just plot points?
I would have changed all of
Are
them.
there any redeeming
probably would-
qualities to them?
Oh no, there are the like some like the Palpatine stuff, how he came to power, to an extent. Removing the Jar Jar Binks stuff.
Yeah, I agree, because like knowing the Emperor, who he was in those original movies, and then say like,
Yep.
how did he get to be this all powerful person? I'm with you there. Okay.
That
Let me
would
ask
have
you a
been
question, though.
for
If
the
you're an
first
all-powerful
two-
Jedi... No, hold up. If you're an all-powerful Jedi
Yep.
and you have literally the most Jedi power in the universe...
I would have banged so many chicks.
Well, not only that, why does it take you 20 fucking years to build an army and take over the universe?
Yep.
Well,
But it doesn't. It doesn't.
it doesn't.
No,
but there's some psychological theory to the fact that the way he did it, if you get people to be part of a process, whether they agree with the end result or not, they're more likely to go along with it than if they weren't part of the process at all.
He took a republic and turned it into a dictatorship, which has happened in our own history.
He made people
1,000 times.
participate in him taking over, which helped him do it.
I think it seemed a little long-winded, especially when he looked at a little boy and said, "Oh, I don't care that I lost my new apprentice.
Well,
I'm going to get a couple more, and then when you're ready, I'm going to do it." Bullshit.
Well, that's what I think. I think that would have been the key of all of that would have been the whole Palpatine and political thing should have been a very small side story, but part of the story actually to get you to where you were. And the main story should have been about Anakin, which it was, but not the way they did it.
Right.
They did it too clean. You went through, two trilogies of 6 movies of. I mean, I'm sorry. You went through 3 movies of grungy, and that's what made them realistic. Was grungy, used, beaten up, tattered universe,
And they did practical effects too.
And then you went into all of a sudden this shiny chrome spaceship.
Yeah, everything's polished and finished.
He falls in love, and from a little boy he falls in love, and then he's apparently a teenager at one point.
The 25-year-old teenager.
Yeah,
it was a guy falling in love with his babysitter.
Yeah. And it was just didn't age a day
like you did on Naboo.
Right.
Yeah, who didn't age a day, and it was stupid. Though
I hate sand.
That whole thing.
It's coarse.
It would have been great if it was like Obi-Wan constantly trying to keep him in control.
Yeah.
Of going off and like, oh fuck you. Like like, oh fuck you, and constantly pulling his lightsaber out like
The first 2 movies should have been merged.
Yeah.
There should have been watching him as a child being recruited, and then all of a sudden he's Anakin in the second one, and you see how he's already kind of getting impudent.
Yeah.
That third movie should have been 2.5 hours of him slowly devolving to the dark side. It shouldn't have happened because of a weird, rash decision he made to cut Samuel L. Jackson. Because to be honest with you, in that moment, I'd cut the bitch too.
Yeah.
Yep. And not only that, all that was it became marketing, and let's throw which the pod racing scene was actually pretty cool, but it wasn't.
It was a
needed.
gimmick.
And it was a gimmick, and there was a lot of gimmick scenes, and that's all they did was load these movies with
the
gimmick
fucking
scenes.
announcers.
Yeah.
Greg Proops, the comedian, being the announcer on all the cartoony faces, the farting fucking animals.
Yeah.
Yep.
Why did they make a kids movie about politics and trade routes?
No, they took a successful set of movies and they tried to retcon it so they could build a prequel series, make more money, and then extend it beyond that into the future. And that's all it was.
The best part is everybody bitches about the last 3 movies that had none of that.
None of it.
Last 3 movies
from the
are
prequel.
great. They're great.
And
They're so much better than the first three. Yeah.
They're so much better than the first three. But because the first three that everybody bitched about 10 years ago, now they want to say they're better than the last three because they just want to bitch about something. You know what I mean?
Do you know what I hate the most? Is that on Tuesday, May the 4th,
Yep.
The Rise of Skywalker is coming to Disney Plus.
Yep.
They followed our direction. They listened to us.
Yep.
And they brought it to. They're going to win the day, but none of us are going to get to watch it because we're going to be at home listening to this episode.
Yep.
In hopes of editing it because we have to debut Cycle's new single.
That's right.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot.
Which is something we literally just learned tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yep.
And so, but by the time this episode airs, this audio is already dated because we will have already debuted it at the beginning of this episode.
That's right.
Yeah.
But that's besides the point.
Yep.
Boys, let's put a fork in this.
I agree.
Obviously, we created more conversation than we can have for one reasonable episode.
Absolutely.
But I do think we should continue this.
I agree.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
So I think next week, even though it's not going to be my episode anymore, I think the three of us agree that we have a little more to talk about.
We have some more to
regarding
say.
not only.
Yep.
We're gonna call it Brad Camino.
Ooh.
Yeah. Ooh. Better call Brad.
Yep, there it is.
That's it. You know what? Even in 3.5 hours, you couldn't break me. So let's. But you know what, Will? Repeating the housekeeping bullshit for the umpteenth week in a row. But that said, we love you. So check us out on the all-new Needless to Say podcast.com, which is updated almost regularly. Then you want to go buy our swag because we're awesome and fucking deserve your money. Represent.com/store/NTS podcast. Social media. I'm going to change things up a bit because on Instagram, Dave is, as the kids say, fucking killing it. On Instagram at all lowercase needless to say podcast. On Twitter, you can catch us where Brad is mildly wounding it at NTS_podcast. And then you can go over to Facebook where Craig is barely maiming it at NTS_podcast. Give a shout to Endeavor Podcast Solutions. Craig, you haven't done it in a while, so do it now.
Endeavor Podcast Solutions. If you're looking to record a podcast, create a podcast, need help with audio, whatever you need, they got it. EndeavorPodcastSolutions.com.
That was like ordering a promo on Wish.com.
Yeah. You threw it at me. I wasn't expecting it.
The only thing better would be Vince Neil recording it.
High speed.
Endeavor Podcast.
All right. Well, you know what? This was my episode, but it really wasn't. I fucking love you guys. The last 3 weeks have been fucking phenomenal. I really enjoyed this. I think it's something maybe we revisit once a year, but that's another topic for another time. Until then,
I actually can't wait though to be back in the same room.
I also agree
that's
with
going to
that,
happen
yes.
soon. But I think considering we figured out the sound, we figured out the balance, we figured out a few other things. Maybe we don't have the talking over thing down just yet. But you know what? Forgive us, folks. We're doing what we can.
We're doing what we can do.
Life happens, and thankfully we're still afforded that luxury. So I'll say this: needless to say, to be continued.